All right, guys, today we got a special guest now. Some of you may not know her by name, but her work in the industry is undeniable with the Rap Coalition and brokering some of the biggest deals in hip hop history. I'm talking about the one and only Wendy Day.
Hey, how are you? I'm so happy to be here.
I'm glad that you're here too. I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm really good. I'm in Atlanta. The weather's beautiful. It's not too hot, but it's warm enough, and it's been a beautiful day.
So I like to start at the beginning, right? Just so we can give the people a better idea of where you came from, who you are, and how you got to where you are today.
Sure.
So you're originally from Philly.
I am. I started listening to hip hop in 1980 when the music was brand new. Like, it wasn't even called hip hop back then. It was just something special coming out of the Bronx, being sent down to Philadelphia on cassette tapes. That's how long ago it was.
Wow.
And I discovered it from going to a concert with the Psychedelic Furs, and the opening act was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. And I fell in love. I fell in love with the syncopated rhythm that they had. I fell in love with the music, the storytelling, their little matching outfits. It was incredible.
Which part of Philly were you growing up in?
The suburbs, Cheltenham.
Okay. And did you grow up with any siblings?
Yes, I have an older sister. We are both adopted. We were adopted from separate families as babies, like so young, I don't remember. I was 2 months old when I was adopted.
Wow.
And I only emphasize that. I mean, I was raised to feel like they were my parents, even though I always knew I was adopted. But I emphasize that only because in January of 2020, my biological sister found me. And so I went to bed one night with just one older sister, Bonnie, and then I woke up the next morning and I had 5 siblings all of a sudden. It was crazy.
Did you ever meet your biological parents?
I did not.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I did not.
But what did your adopted parents do for work?
My mom was a stay-at-home mom, housewife. And my dad worked at the post office. He was the person when you went in to buy stamps, he was the guy at the window that was selling stamps.
Okay. And I heard in an interview you described like your childhood as you were living in a suburb, pretty rich area, but it was like you guys were the family that wasn't rich, that wasn't doing well as far as financially. Right. Yeah. And you know, in a lot of places, that's more common than people think. That it's, you know, they think that it's like, oh, just because you're in the suburbs, you're doing well, but that's not necessarily true. A lot of times people are having difficulty being there, you know?
Exactly. You know, we were very lower middle class. My parents lived on a single salary, which was really hard to do back then, just as it is today. Probably not as hard as it is today, but it was challenging. Either we were poor, we weren't starving poor. I never missed a meal, but either we were poor or my parents were just really cheap. I'm not sure which, but I don't believe they had money. I think we were relatively poor. We lived in a twin house. A twin house is like a duplex, like a side-by-side duplex.
Right.
So I grew up in a neighborhood where the houses were like 3,000 to 7,500 square feet. And my sister and I, we grew up in a house that was probably under 1,000 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was substantially smaller. It was on the edge of a very wealthy Jewish neighborhood. We weren't Jewish. We were Christian. So I was always the outsider. I was the poor chick. I was the Christian chick. I was, you know, the chick that didn't get a car when I turned 16. You know, I didn't get tens of thousands of dollars for a bat mitzvah when I turned 13, but it was never a problem. Like, I don't say that because I felt shorted or I felt left out. I didn't at all. I grew up really happy. I was very independent. I used to like to go on adventures, like I always explored. I still do. Like that's still part of my value system today. But I remember playing a lot as a kid. I would get on my bicycle and I would just ride it. Like I would go really far. And first of all, like it's amazing today when I think about that, because if I had kids, I would not want them to do what I was doing as a kid. I would ride like 10 miles away from the house. You know, I would go
Wow.
downtown. I would hop on the bus at the corner of my block to the subway and then take the subway to downtown Philly and walk around downtown at like 12, 13 years old. And that's probably not a good idea.
Right. So you were an explorer.
Very much so. Yep. I
How
think
else would you?
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say, I think one of the secrets to my success or anybody's success is I was always comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm.
I was never a kid, and I'm like that as an adult. I was never the kid that had to be uncomfortable. Like I could be in a room full of people different than me and not feel weird.
It made you adaptable.
I was extremely adaptable. I still am. I am just as comfortable in a boardroom as I am in the trap. And that's just weird. When you think about that, like as somebody my age to be comfortable no matter where I am, it's just kind of bizarre. And I used to think it was because I was just comfortable with myself and comfortable in my own skin. And then I went to therapy and realized I'm not comfortable really with myself. It's something that I've been working on for the past couple of years. I am now, like I'm very comfortable with who I am, but I wasn't. So I'm not exactly sure where that came from or what that caused, what caused that, but I'm really thankful for it. Like it's something I'm really grateful for because I could be in a meeting or I could be hanging out on the streets and be just as comfortable.
Well, let me ask you this. So maybe, you're not comfortable with who you are, but you know who you are. And that makes it so that you thrive in any kind of situation because you know exactly who you are as a person.
It could be, but I feel like I just found out who I am. Like, not that you're trying to like psychoanalyze me, but let me tell you. So I learned a lot about myself just in the past 3 years because when I was a kid, I grew up in an environment where I was taught to always put other people first.
Mm.
So, for example, if I had a sandwich and you didn't, I was taught as a kid to either give you that sandwich or share that sandwich with you. So I come very much from the mindset of pleasing other people. I learned as an adult that when you have clients, you're supposed to do what they want at all cost. So I didn't really learn who I was or what made me, like Wendy, happy until 3 years ago when I finally figured it out. I mean, I kind of sort of had an idea. Like I knew I liked to travel. I knew I liked art. So I knew the basics. But what's really weird is I didn't really feel emotion the way most people do. Like I had happy, sad, and angry. And to be really honest with you, like sad just pissed me off and made me angry. So really I had happy and angry. And angry gave me energy and happy gave me energy. So those were the two emotions that I really focused on and felt the most. And now I've got a full range of emotion. Like I kind of feel it all. It's weird to me still.
So I want to backtrack a little bit where you were saying that like you were taught to share what you had, right? Is that
Mm-hmm.
something that your parents pushed upon you?
Yes. Yes. And it doesn't escape me that that's also very Christian values. I was raised Protestant and I think, the church, and I'm not downing anybody that believes in church. I do not personally, but I think the church wants people to conform. And the best way to do that is to teach them Christian values. And there's nothing wrong with Christian values. I really love who I am and I love my belief system, but I'm definitely not a conformist anymore.
Right.
I'm more of an activist than anything. And I have been since my early 30s.
And in regards to your extreme emotions of happiness or anger,
Sending.
right? Um, was that something that your parents didn't allow you to like process emotions or show emotions?
Correct.
Because I know
Correct.
for men, like we're told not to express,
Cry.
right? Express
You're taught not
sadness.
to
We
cry.
can't cry, those type of things.
Correct.
So then we express our emotions through anger, you know, and it
Yes.
doesn't provide the same kind of relief.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And yes, my sister and I were both taught that, and I don't want to speak for her, so I'll just speak for me. I remember distinctly crying as a little kid and being told, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. So I learned at a very young age
It's
to
very
not
old
cry.
school. It's
Yeah.
very old school.
I remember getting in trouble as a kid. And I remember my mom would threaten and say, wait till your father comes home, and I'd be terrified because, when daddy walked in the door at 6 o'clock, I was probably going to get spanked. And I didn't come from an abusive family at all, but back then spanking was normal. Like it's how parents, discipline their children. And I remember being terrified. And I also remember getting spanked and not showing emotion. Like I was very defiant as a child. And I'm sure that came from that lesson of, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about.
How would you describe yourself though as a child? Like, were you really into sports,
No.
school,
Yes.
music?
No. I was very into music. I don't have an athletic bone in my body even now. Like I just dropped 120 pounds in the past year, a little over a year. And I hate working out. I just started last night a ballet class because I'm looking for some sort of movement with my body that I won't despise.
Right. It's like you're
I'm not
working out
an
without thinking about you working out,
Correct.
basically.
Correct. I need something to trick me into working out, and like aerobics is not it. I'm not a jogger. Like I'll never do that shit. I like to think that I will, but I won't. And, so I was never athletic. I was never into sports or team sports. I remember playing kickball with the neighborhood kids when I was a kid, but I didn't love it. It was more community oriented than sports or competition oriented. I was the kid in the neighborhood that everybody came to when they had a problem because I could fix it. Like I was always very analytical and would research to find answers. I remember when two kids were fighting, one of the other neighborhood kids came and knocked on my door and said, you got to come quick. These two guys are fighting. And I remember going down the street and breaking up the fight. So I was the person that they came to mediate, which is funny because that's kind of what I do as an adult. And it was just, it was a great childhood. I really enjoyed being a kid. Like I said, I was very independent. I was adventurous. I was a problem solver and I was always into education. I always enjoyed school. I never did homework, which was kind of fucked up. Can I curse?
Of course.
Okay, good. I never did homework, which was kind of fucked up, but I was somebody that enjoyed reading. I remember as a kid in the summer, my mom would take my sister and I to the bookstore or the library once a week and let us pick out a new book. So we were either allowed I almost said rent. We were allowed to take out from the library a book and then we'd bring it back a week later and get a new one. Or we'd go to the bookstore and she'd actually buy us a book, which was really cool,
Right.
And that's a fond childhood memory. That was in the summertime. I do remember reading. I remember going to the school library and taking out books and reading even during the school year. And I still do that. I read a book a week. It's mostly personal growth and business that I read now, but I still am an avid reader. I read a book a week or I listen to an audio book.
You were a painter, right? And into art restoration?
Not really art restoration. In the summer, I had a job painting signs at the beach. So I would go down to the beach in New Jersey from June through September during my college years. And that's how I made money painting in the summer. That's what paid. I put myself through college. That's what paid for my undergraduate degree.
Wow.
Was painting signs. And that was a lot of fun. I'm still artsy fartsy.
Mhm. All right, so let's go back. You're growing up in Philly in the 60s, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Mid.
this is the
Yep.
civil rights era. And I
Yes.
get you were a little kid at the time, but I'm sure you got to see a little bit and you also lived through the 70s. So
Yes.
take us through what was Philly like during that time. What are you seeing when you walk the streets?
I actually didn't see much in terms of that because I didn't have the awareness. My grandmother owned a card and gift shop in West Philadelphia, and it was in the hood. It was on Chester Avenue, 54th and Chester in Philly, which is still a pretty rough neighborhood. But even as a kid, it was a rough neighborhood. And I spent a lot of holidays over there working in her store and helping her out. Um, I didn't really, other than that, I didn't really experience Black culture. And that wasn't really an experience. Like I was inside of a store helping my grandmother sell cards and gifts, right? It wasn't like I was out on the street, fight the power at Malcolm X rallies. I didn't really learn about Black culture until the 80s when I read Alex Haley's book on Malcolm X, the autobiography of Malcolm X, which fascinated me. I went and did a deeper dive. Like Malcolm talked about when he was incarcerated, there were some books that he read, and he actually listed the books that he read, and they were mentioned in that book. And at the time, I was living in New York City, so I had access to the Schomburg Center. I had access to NYU's library. Okay, this is a funny story. So, you know how most kids that are under 21 will bootleg a driver's license so they can go drinking at the clubs?
Right.
That was not me. I bootlegged a New York University um, student ID so that I could get into the library and borrow books for free. Isn't that crazy? That's my mindset, right? So I went and read, I think there were 11 books that Malcolm talked about, and I think I found 7 or 9 of them. And then that led me down the rabbit hole of Black nationalism, the slave trade. Like there were just certain areas that really intrigued me in terms of Black history that we didn't get when we were in school, and I say this as a white person in a predominantly white school. There were people of color in my school, and American history kind of glossed over Black history in the 60s and 70s when I was in, grade school, middle school, and high school, which is really fucked up.
Right.
But I ended up going to Temple University. Again, I'm from Philly. I moved to New York City because I wanted to be around hip hop. But I waited until I got to New York and then had to commute back to Philly on the train in order to take master's classes at Temple University. And I chose Temple because the program is Afrocentric. So they were very focused on making sure that the reading material was written by people of color and African history was dictated by Africans. It wasn't like white folks writing about the history. Not that white people can't, write about history, but it just was more of an authentic program than other African American history programs. And that's what attracted me to Temple. And that's why I was willing to commute to, to the master's program at Temple.
Right. That's when you did your studies of 500 years of African history, basically,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to go back though. When you're growing up in the 60s, what are you seeing on TV though? Was it really being broadcasted at that time that you remember?
Well, I do remember. It really wasn't it wasn't. And if it wasn't being broadcast in my house.
Right.
That's not what my parents chose to watch. I remember Nixon getting impeached. I do remember that. I remember the space flights, like NASA. Anytime they were sending a rocket into space, we would get off from school. So we were allowed to come home at lunchtime, and our families would be gathered around the television to watch the takeoff of the rockets. So I do remember that. I remember a lot of sitcoms. I remember a lot of firsts. I remember the Jeffersons. I remember other television shows that had Black characters, but for the most part, It was not prominent. It was not prevalent. It's still not today. It's still completely out of balance today. I don't want to imply that it's gotten better. It really hasn't, maybe a hair better, but it's still not representative, of culture. And that includes all people. Like, there are very few like Asian TV shows in America. There's very few Black TV shows in America. There's very few Polynesian TV shows in America. You know what I mean? It's not, the choice isn't as broad as it needs to be.
Were these conversations being had around you by the adults in your life or anything?
No,
Not at all.
no, not at all. It wasn't a thing. Like, people didn't notice it. And maybe if my parents had been Black, they would notice, but we weren't. We didn't have any Black neighbors on our street. It was a very segregated place where I grew up. My experience of people of color was going to my grandmother's store in West Philadelphia, and one lunch table in my high school where most of the Black kids sat together and ate for lunch. And I remember, like, anytime that I would go sit with them or they would come sit with me, it would be like a big thing. And I never understood that because I never really looked at race as people being different from me, because again, I was always an outsider. Like, I was always the Protestant kid in the Jewish neighborhood. I was always the poor kid in the rich neighborhood. I never fit in. So it wasn't weird to me when all of a sudden I didn't fit in. I didn't ever really know what that meant.
And that's why hip hop resonated so much with you.
Say it again.
That's why hip hop resonated so much with you, because
Probably.
of
that kind of the fact that hip hop is very in your face. It's very say what you mean. It's very kick in the door. Don't wait for an invitation. Get up and do it yourself. It's a very independent and self motivating art form, right? It's, graffiti is part of that, which is, fuck the police, don't care about laws.
Right.
Hip hop is very aggressive in an assertive way, not in a violent way. It's very in your face. I don't quite know how else to say it, but that. And I resonate with those sentiments greatly. Like, I never waited for somebody to say, okay, it's okay for you to start your own business. I just started my own business.
So 1980, when you see the Grandmaster Flash, show, right? Where they're opening up. How old are you at this time? Like 18?
Yeah, I had just turned 18.
Okay. Can you take us back and talk about how other races were reacting to hip hop at the time? Like, what is the general consensus?
That it was an amazing art form. It was sort of how stories were being spread on the street. Remember, there was no internet back then.
Right.
So in order to get news of what was going on, it would be in rap songs. Not specific news like, Joe Blow got shot at 5th and Market, although sometimes that was the case. But it was more like people were learning, like in Philly, people were learning that the police were excessively brutal to people of color in New York, whereas everybody in New York knew that. We didn't really know that in Philly until the music started talking about it. We didn't know during the crack era how prevalent crack was until the music started talking about it.
Right. And that was my next point, was that, okay, during this time, it is the 80s, it's the crack era, right? Like, what are you witnessing as far as maybe around you or just seeing on TV what is being spoken about?
Yeah, I never really watched TV like that because I'm more of a reader. So it's not fair for me to say what I saw on TV. When I did watch TV, I was watching the Three Stooges or the Flintstones or the Jetsons, right? That was kind of my taste. Bugs Bunny, that was kind of my taste in TV. I never really watched the news. I didn't enjoy it. When I did watch the news with my family always watched the news like at 11 o'clock. But when I was little, I was never staying up that late. But news bored the pants off of me. Like, it was just so, I never enjoyed it. I would perk up when the commercials came on. I would pay attention to the commercials. And then when I was in like middle school age, I thought I wanted to work in advertising because I was always attracted to the commercials. But in terms of what people were talking about, it was more political. It was more like Republicans taking over. And I lived in a Democratic neighborhood, although my parents were Republican. I would hear the difference in politics,
Mhm.
like between Nixon and I think it was McGovern, his running mate. I can't really remember, but I was very aware of politics. I wasn't very aware of racial discomfort or racial strife.
Got you. Okay, so even though you were a reader, you weren't into the news, so you didn't read the newspaper, didn't
No,
pay attention to that
no.
part. Okay.
No. And what's really fucked up is that my parents were. So the newspaper came to our house. Back then it was every morning, and it was called the Philadelphia Bulletin. It was on our front doorstep every day. But because my parents were so into reading the newspaper, I wasn't. You know how like your parents do something and you're like, oh, that's them.
Right.
It was sort of that. So even though I grew up with them being aware of the news, my mom would watch the news at 6 o'clock at night and 11 o'clock at night. And I was very aware that she was in tune with the news, but we didn't talk about it. We didn't discuss it. In fact, the only news I really remember was more economics. Like I remember there was a gasoline shortage when I was a kid. And this was probably in the mid 70s ish. And I remember that we could only go get gasoline on certain days of the week, and it went by your license plate. So if you had an odd number at the end of your license plate in Pennsylvania, you could get gas on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then if you had an even number, you could go Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I don't know what the hell they did on Sunday. Maybe they weren't open. I don't know.
Wow.
But I remember how weird that was. And no matter when we went, we would sit in line. And it was such a big deal. I remember asking my dad was like in charge of gassing up the car, right? I remember asking my dad, hey, can I come with you to the gas station? Because it was so weird to have to sit in line. And of course, he loved the company because it could take an hour for us to gas up the car because the line was very slow moving. So it was it was a very weird time. And I remember stuff like that, but I don't remember racial tension. I don't remember MLK getting killed. I probably would have been 5 when he was killed ish.
Mhm.
I was young. So of course I wouldn't hear that. I was too young for JFK. He was killed when I was 2. There's no way I would remember that. I don't really remember racial tension. I remember more economic news than anything.
Got
And
you.
because I lived in a Jewish neighborhood, I was very aware of like Israeli, Middle East wars and peace more than anything, because that was a very big deal in every school that I went to. My school was probably 85 to 90% Jewish, if I had to make a guess.
Really? Wow.
Yes. 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 On the Jewish holidays, there'd be like 5 kids in class.
Wow, that's amazing. That's crazy to think about. So you eventually moved to New York, like you were saying, and you're experiencing the culture firsthand.
Yeah. I went for a weekend with one of my friends. And as we were coming into the city, we went up on a Friday night, and the plan was to stay till Sunday night. And I remember coming across, I think it was the Verrazano Bridge, and we were listening to a radio show, and it was the Mr. Magic Marley Marl radio show, and it was all
Wow.
rap, and it was amazing. And I wasn't driving, my friend was, and I looked at her and I said, I'm moving here. And she said, cool. And I don't think she thought I was serious, but I went home, and on Monday I gave notice at my job and rented a U-Haul and packed all my shit. And I was living in New York within a week and a half.
That's crazy. Did you have
Yes.
money saved up?
No.
How did you do it?
I've done some really stupid shit in my life, like really stupid shit. I was 23 at the time, so I didn't think about stuff like that.
Just on a
I might
whim,
have been
full of
4.
dreams, basically.
Yep. I figured it out. And I did. I figured it out. I ended up doing sublets. I learned that the cheapest way to live in New York in the 80s was to sublet apartments. And people who would like be traveling for work or students during the summer or, whoever, they would sublet their apartment and it would be much cheaper and you would be obligated. And it was already furnished. So you didn't need furniture because I didn't have any anyway. So that was a plus. And you would have a place to live for like 3 to 6 months at a time, and you'd move around a lot. But that was great for me. I still love that. Like moving gives me energy. I love when I'm in a different place. I wouldn't want to do it every 3 months anymore. But if I could move every year, I'd really be happy. I would enjoy that.
Wow. Especially if you don't have a lot of stuff to move, like as far as furniture
Correct.
goes, makes it a lot easier.
I do
You know?
now. I got a 3,500, actually bigger. I've probably got a 5,000 square foot house right now. I have a lot of
Sheesh.
shit. So I would have to either burn the house down
Right.
or do one hell of a downsizing. But if I could do that, I would love that. I would love to live in a different place every year and get to know new people and new places and new restaurants. I'm a foodie.
Yeah.
So I love food.
So you moved to Montreal eventually to work for a liquor company, right?
I
And you
did.
make a
1987.
ton load of money,
I did a
shitload of money.
load of money. And that mattered to me back then. Like, to be clear, my goal at that point in time was whoever had the most toys when they die wins. I had a t-shirt that said that. That's how much I believed that. Like, money was all that mattered to me because I had grown up so poor. And I learned that money was freedom. And I learned that money was escape. And I learned that money could buy privilege. And that's what mattered to me. So the job, I was selling advertising space because I was making money. I was working for Time Magazine at that point in time. And, I was the friend who could take all of her friends to the Bahamas for the weekend because I was making money. And because I was doing sales and I was really good at it, I was winning all the prizes. So I was winning like trips to the Bahamas. I won a cell phone. Remember when, so you might not because you're young, but cell phones used to look like a brick, like they were the size of a brick.
With the
And
long antenna.
I won a
Right.
sales contest and I won a phone. I won a Rolex. Like, whatever the sales contest was, I was somehow always able to be the person in the company that outdid everybody. I was also the youngest person in sales in that company, which was surprising. But I hated sales. Like, to be clear, I still hate it today, all these years later.
But it was just kind of a means to an end,
Exactly.
basically.
Exactly. So I moved to Montreal and I learned while I was in Montreal that money ain't shit. So I no longer have that, he who has the most toys when they die wins attitude. Living in Montreal was incredible. And the reason it was incredible, I lived there during a war, Desert Storm, I think it was. And Montreal is right across the border from Vermont. So I would get the 10 o'clock news on Canadian TV, and then I'd get the 11 o'clock news from Vermont. So I'd be watching the news in Canada talking about, 2,200 American soldiers were killed today in Kuwait or wherever. And I would watch the same news from America saying no Americans were killed, in this war so far. And it's like, wait a minute, but Canadian TV said one thing, American TV is saying something else. It never crossed my mind that media would lie or that the government would give false information until I moved to Montreal and saw it with my own eyes. I saw it firsthand and I'm like, wait, this is crazy.
So you saw the programming.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Wow.
And it not only shocked me, but PANDA, it devastated me because it took away the rose-colored glasses. Like,
Right.
that reality was bitter. It was
like a Matrix, waking up from the Matrix kind of situation.
Yes, because you don't believe that somebody could be so blatant. Like, first of all, how did they get away with it?
I know.
But they did. And then, of course, when I would tell my friends, they'd be like, that's not true. No troops have died. It's like, okay, whatever. History
Yeah.
has shown, like, history has shown the truth now. And the Canadian news was accurate.
Well, maybe that's why when you were growing up, you never cared about the news because you didn't want to be lied to. Somehow, like you just like
Maybe.
were meant.
Maybe I picked it up. Like maybe intuition said they're lying.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't really remember caring about the news.
Mm-hmm. Well, you eventually moved back to New York and now you have all this money to do whatever you want, right? Do you
Yes.
immediately think about the rap coalition?
Nope. Nope. I volunteered at the African National Congress, which had just been legalized at that point in time. And by legalized, I mean they were accepted by the United Nations as the body, the political body from South Africa, right? This is the end of apartheid, which is a huge deal, especially in New York. So I was volunteering for them for a while. I was taking classes at Columbia University. It's funny, my whole life, even today, I always resort to taking classes. Like I love knowledge, I love learning. And back then, even though I had money, I didn't want the degree. I just wanted the education. So I was auditing classes, right? And at Columbia University, you couldn't audit. So I was crashing classes. And we would be like halfway through the semester, inevitably, the teacher would call me up to the front of the room and be like, okay, who are you? You're not on my class roll. And I'd be like, oh, I don't know what the mistake was, you know? And they always let me stay because I guess they figured if you're crazy enough to want to learn and you're not taking the tests and you're not part of the class, but you're here every day that there's a class, I'm not going to stop you. So
you're not getting credit for it.
I never got kicked out. I didn't care about the credit. At that point, I had an undergraduate degree in graphic design. I had an MBA and I had a master's in AFAM studies. I didn't need another degree. The degrees are useless to me. They're paper, right? What mattered to me was the knowledge and the education. So I was taking classes in international marketing, international business, because I was also, as I said, volunteering for the ANC. So I was getting a really good understanding of international politics and the role that America was playing in the world. I had already seen from living in Canada that we were bullshit in terms of our news. We were just saying stuff to control the masses, but it was just very eye-opening to really learn. And the instructors at Columbia are like the top of the food chain. So I was learning from some really learned, amazing people. It was incredible. It was an incredible time. I learned a lot. I worked on a film. There was an Iranian director. I don't remember his name or the name of the film, but I volunteered to work on a film. And then I took a class at the New School that I paid for. And it was on the music business. And that's where the idea for Rap Coalition came into fruition. It was taught by a guy named Burt Padell and Sid Weinstein. Sid was one of the people that discovered the Beatles, and Burt Padell was like an accountant to the stars.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was trying to figure out where I knew that name from.
Yep. Biggie mentions him in a song. He says, stash more cash than Burt Padell in hell. So Burt was an accountant to the stars. At that time, he handled Madonna, Luther Vandross, Russell Simmons. That's like the equivalent today of Taylor Swift, Drake, and Ed Sheeran. Like to put it in, or Sabrina Carpenter, to put it into perspective. Right. Like he was the superstar guy, the go-to guy. And I learned from him that rappers were being unfairly taken advantage of. And that was my favorite music. I was 30 years old and I was pissed. And I had money. And I knew I didn't care if I lost all that money, because at that point in time, I wasn't fueled by money anymore, right? Like money didn't matter to me. It was a tool. And I remember thinking, okay, I can start this not-for-profit to help rappers. and I'll just do it for a few years and then I'll go get a real job and I'll make money again. So I didn't care about losing all of my savings because I knew I could just go get it again. Or I thought I could, right? And I probably could have. It's never been tested, so I don't know if I could have or not, but I like to think that I could have. And I haven't looked back. That was 33 years ago. And I'm still running Rap Coalition. It's still a not-for-profit. I do have I have a bunch of for-profit companies in addition to the not-for-profit because I, like to eat and I like having a roof over my head. So there's that. But I have the coolest job in the world because I get to help artists make money with their music.
Right.
And it's phenomenal.
You know what's so amazing is that you said that it was at 30 years old that you did that. You know how a lot of times people will put a limit on, like, if you haven't figured out your life by this age already, it's like, yes, or it's too late for you to do it, but yes, your story right there goes to show you that, like, it's like you can do it at any time, that you can turn.
And Panda, I was old at 30. Like, let me be really clear about this. Everybody else around me in the music industry was 19 to 23. And when everybody's 19 to 23 and you're 30, like, that's a huge difference. That's like the difference today of being 60 and everybody else is 40. Like, that's a huge leap, right? So here I am at an age where I'm expected to be settling down and getting married and knowing what I want to do for a living and starting to have babies. So basically, I was 30 years old. Everybody else was in their early 20s. So I'm hanging out with like high school dropouts and people that were just getting out of college that were willing to work for free. And then there's me who has, 10 years more life experience. And my parents, bless their hearts, are like, wait a minute. No, we want grandchildren. Like, you need to settle down, get married and make babies. And I'm like, hell no, I need to work with rappers. I was their worst nightmare.
Not to mention you're choosing an unorthodox path as a career, right?
Yes.
What was their reaction to that?
Well, my dad never understood. My mom finally did. Before my mom passed away, and she passed away in 2014. So my company was 20 years old by that point in time. I guess she realized it was no longer a fad, right? At 20 years or 22 years in, I'm probably pretty serious about what I'm doing for a living. But I remember her saying to me, I get it. I understand why you do this. And I asked her, well, when did you realize? And she said, you spoke in Philadelphia, and she said, you invited me to meet you at the seminar, and then we went and had dinner. Do you remember that? And I said, oh, yes, I do remember. I had done a panel at the Philadelphia Music Conference, and whoever was in charge of the money at the conference ended up fucking me over, and they took all the tickets that were on hold at the train station in New York. They took the money back. So when my panelists showed up at the train station to pick up their tickets to come down to speak on my panel, there were no tickets there, so they didn't come. So here I am speaking in front of 500 people by myself. Dude, it was the most stressful thing that I think I've ever been through. And I did it. I just handled it because I had no choice. And I broke down. I had just done the Master P deal. And I think I was shopping Cash Money at the time. I did the Cash Money. I did the Master P deal. That was me with a bunch of other people. I'd already done Twista's deal at Atlantic, and I was shopping the Cash Money deal. And that was just me and my lawyer. It was just the two of us shopping that deal. So we had extreme control over the deal. And I was talking about that. And at the end of me speaking, I got a standing ovation.
Wow.
And my mom said, I didn't know she was there. She was in the back of the room. I knew she was coming, but I didn't know she was going to hear me speak. And she said, I looked around that room while you were talking, and she said, there were kids there like this. She said, that's when I realized how important it is what you do. And I'm like, first of all, wow, that was 1998. Thank you for waiting, 10 or 12 years to tell me. But I'm glad she got to see that. And I'm glad she got to see why I do what I do. And I'm glad she got to see that I make a difference, because at that point in time, I wasn't making much money at all. I was struggling, and she didn't understand why I would choose to struggle. She didn't understand why I didn't just go get another job and start making good money again. And I'm glad that she got to understand before she passed.
What did it mean to you to finally hear that from her, though?
It was really rewarding, because I always wanted to please my mom and I couldn't. I grew up in a household where I had to be the good daughter. I had to be obedient. I had to be the quiet daughter, which is funny because I'm loud as fuck. I was always, my sister was kind of rowdy and obstinate. Like, she would do what she wanted when she wanted. And I didn't want to put my mom through that. So I was extremely, really sneaky is the word I want to use, but I placated her. Like, I learned to people please at a very young age. And I also learned that if I wanted to be loved, I had to earn it. So I had to get good grades. I had to do what she wanted. I had to be the good daughter. I had to be quiet. I had to, if she told me she wanted me to study, French or English, I would study it. She had a lot of control over me because I wanted to please her. And when I took a different path in life, I went to art school, and she didn't want me to go to art school. She wanted me to become a teacher. And she finally said, okay, she had no choice. I mean, Panda, I put myself through college, right? It's not like she was paying the bill. She didn't really have much say. But again, I wanted to please her. She was my mom and I loved her. She was the person I loved most in life. And I chose an art school that had English, history, that had more than just art classes, because that was important to her. And I don't regret it. I'm really glad that I did it. But that's just to show you how important it was to me to please her. Even when I veered off the course that she wanted me to take, I still appeased her by compromising, right? So I ended up, instead of going to Philadelphia College of Art or Parsons in New York like I wanted to, I ended up going to Moore College of Art in Philly, because they had, they offered English and history and, the classics. French, I took French in college. So there was still part of me that wanted to please her. So when I heard that I pleased her, I was happy. It tickled me.
That must have been really difficult for you, because it probably felt like love was a little conditional on you.
Oh, it didn't feel like a little. It was a lot. Yeah. I had to earn love. Like, it wasn't just granted. And I think my whole generation probably feels this way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was unique to me. I don't think nobody else was raised in a trauma-based household. I think we were all raised in trauma,
Right.
But I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that until I hit 60. Like, it took me a long time to learn where my trauma came from, and in a way, it's a blessing, because it's one of the reasons I'm as successful as I am, because I'm driven to prove my value, to prove my worth. So I had to outdo everyone. Even though I wasn't competitive in sports, I'm competitive in life,
Right.
So I always felt like I had to shine more brightly than everybody else and be humble about it, because I was taught to not be conceited, to not be in your face, to not be egotistical. I was taught to be humble and everybody's equal.
Yet you're in a genre that is very based on those very things.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Right.
Yes. It's such, especially in the 90s, it was so braggadocious.
Right.
Look at battle rap.
Yeah.
And I came up in battle rap. I love battle rap. I did the rap Olympics, for Christ's sake. I
Right.
love
And
battle
we're
rap.
going to touch on that in a little bit. But since we're here talking about your mom, rest in peace to her. I'm sorry that you lost her in 2014.
Me too. She was an amazing, amazing woman. Like, she was so strong. She was my favorite person in the world. She was just an amazing human being.
How did she leave us?
She died at 83. She died of old age, basically.
Got you. Okay. And what was that time like for you?
Very, very difficult because she aged really fast. So she was fine. She was fine. She was fine. She was fine. Oh, all of a sudden she's old, and she kept falling. She had osteoporosis. So when she fell, her bones would shatter like glass. So she lived in New Jersey at this point in time, and I was in Atlanta, and I was flying back to New Jersey to take care of her. Like, I was there for 2 months out of every 4. Like, it was just bad. She kept falling and breaking bones. And my sister had 2 sons, and a husband. I had a guy that I was living with, but I didn't have children. I had a dog, but I didn't have children. So it was kind of on me to take care of my mom. And at that point in time, 2012, 2013, and 2014, which is the period of time she was falling a lot, I was also just really starting to make money. So I could afford to take care of her when my sister could not. So I was just in a better position. So a lot of it fell on me.
Well, rest in peace to her.
Thanks. She was an amazing lady. She's still with me, like, in my heart. Like, right. I still voice the positive stuff, not the, you should do better, Wendy. None of that. I don't hear any of that shit.
So going back to the Rap Coalition, right? The thing that I love the most about this is that this part of your story, you really realize giving back to the culture, because hip hop is not just what you get from it, it's what you give back to it as well.
Yes.
And I love that the way that you've spoken about it in the past is like, you got so much from listening to the music that you wanted to give back to those people, and
yes.
That's also the same reason why you've never taken a percentage of anyone's publishing, which is how you get rich in this business, basically.
Exactly how you get rich in this business.
But you've always had a problem with white people doing that specifically.
Yes, specifically, yes. I don't mind if you do it. I don't mind if somebody else does it. It's just not for me. It's not like I'm against it as a principle. I'm against it as a principle for me. I can't do it.
Right.
I'm not willing to do it.
So what year is it that you meet Tupac?
95, 94, 95. Whenever he went to prison. I met him when he went to Rikers.
But you saw him around before, because I know that you didn't like him at first. You said that you would see him in line for like clubs and everything, right? So you met him earlier on, right? Like, or you knew of him basically.
I would see him whenever he came to New York, and he would go to the clubs. He'd be online and loud as shit. In fact, many times I would turn around and go home because I didn't want to be inside of a club with that energy. Right. You know what I mean? Because I knew some shit was going to pop off. I met him. I felt sorry for him when he was in New York and he was at Quad Studio. And I know the history tells us he was shot. He was not shot. He was pistol whipped. He was pulling out his own weapon and it went off and he shot himself in the thigh. He was not shot by somebody else. But I know what the story is and I know what the lore is. And at the time, I thought he was shot by somebody else.
So he was not shot 5 times at that time?
He was not. He was not. He was pistol whipped. When he was out here alone, and I felt like if I were in LA and I didn't know anybody really in LA, I would want somebody who respected hip hop culture to step in and help me. So I chose to step in and help him because I had the ability to do so. So I made sure that the Fruit of Islam was surrounding him until he was sentenced, because we all knew he was going to jail. We just didn't know for how long. So, and I think this happened like 2 days or 3 days before he went to jail, before he was going to get sentenced. So I asked my friends in the Fruit of Islam, Brother Arthur, to help him and look out for him. And he did. They surrounded him and they made sure he was safe until he went to Rikers. Well, until he, got shot. After he got shot, he went to the hospital and he checked himself out. And they surrounded him at that point. They surrounded him when he was not safe until he went to Rikers. And I guess I really don't know how he found out. I'm assuming Arthur probably told him, hey, Wendy Day sent me, thinking I knew him. I didn't. And then he wrote me a thank you letter from Rikers. And when I got that thank you letter, it wasn't the truth. He thought I was looking out for him because I was a fan. And I wrote him back a really difficult letter. I think you can kind of feel my personality.
Right.
Right. So
yeah, you're pretty blunt and
I'm pretty blunt.
I don't like you. On my mind. You're an asshole.
I wrote him back a letter and I said, I didn't do it because I'm a fan. In fact, I really don't like your music. I think your lyrics are great, but I think you can't pick a beat to save your life. Dear Mama's cool, but that's about it. And by the way, I used to see you in line at the clubs and you were always loud and raucous. I've heard the stories about the cops shooting you in Atlanta. Like, dude, you had this coming. Like, you invited this shit. So don't act all surprised when some shit happened. Like, dude, you are bad for hip hop. This is bad for the culture. And he wrote me back. And when I saw the return address, I thought to myself, uh-oh.
He's about to go off on me, huh?
Uh-oh. Maybe I shouldn't read this. It took me like a while to read it because I just knew he was going to rip into me and I knew we were going to go to war. I knew what it was going to be. And finally, I opened the letter and it started with Dear Queen. And he said, thank you so much for that letter. And I probably ended it with something because I am kind of nice. I probably ended it by saying this was probably a hard letter for you to read and it was hard for me to write. And I apologize if I offended you, but you brought this on yourself, blah, blah, blah. So I probably put that in there. I don't really remember. But he did acknowledge that I spoke my mind. He acknowledged that it was difficult for him to read. And he also said that, he didn't have a record until he made a record. And he wrote me this really intelligent, kind letter in return. And I was so impressed. And I realized that I was wrong. I was wrong. So I wrote him back and said that. Like, dude, wow. First of all, I expected you to go off on me on some who the fuck do you think you're talking to type shit. And you came with truth. And I can't argue your truth. That, yes, I saw you loud and rowdy in line at the club, but I didn't know if you could diffuse things once you got inside the club. I didn't take into consideration that maybe it was your boys amping you up and that's not who you are. And I didn't take into consideration, how you grew up and what an activist you are. And I heard the stories, but I didn't think you still had that in you. And he wrote back and said, I'm always going to have that in me. That's who I am. I was raised by warriors. And then that's when he told me about his stepfather or his godfather.
Mutulu Shakur?
Yes. And, the stories about his mom, which I had already known. I thought the apple fell really far from the tree, and I was wrong. He was very much an activist. I just didn't know that because I saw him as a rowdy party boy. He was a guy that was getting a blowjob on the dance floor at Nell's, which is what caused all of his legal trouble, right? This woman set him up, then he showed up at his hotel room the next night, and then street dudes showed up to her, and he got blamed for it, And I got close to him when he was moved to prison, when he was at Dannemora. I went and visited him and I was putting together his business plan when he was killed. It was for his label.
Well, before we go into that, because you really did build a relationship with him where you were sending him books, right? You sent him
correct.
Machiavelli,
I did.
Art of War,
I did.
and
I sent him Black Boy by Claude Brown. I sent him How to Eat to Live by Elijah Muhammad.
Wow.
I sent him basically my favorite books. I sent him a book by Cheikh Anta Diop. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like something like The History of Civilization, and it's by Cheikh Anta Diop. I sent him my favorite books.
So the audience is never going to let it down if I don't ask you this, okay? But how do you know for sure that he wasn't shot 5 times like he has claimed in his music and how like the report says?
I can't speak on that because if that's the narrative that he wants out there, I want him to have his way. He was my friend. So if that's what he says happened, then I'm going to roll with that. But if you do the research and you look at the wounds and you study it, you may come up with a different opinion, just like I have. And I may be wrong. I don't think
like I always think about that Vibe magazine interview, right? Where he says that now they're saying that I didn't get shot 5 times. Well, what else is all this other shit in me and stuff? You know what I mean? Like where he's talking about
me when he said that.
He what?
He was talking about me when he said that. Oh. I said to him, like what I just said to you, I said to him, sitting across from him in the visitation room at Dannemora. I'm like, motherfucker, you did not get shot. First of all, there's no safety on a Glock. So when you pulled out, your adrenaline was rushing. You're not a gangster. The gun went off because you kept one in the chamber. And he laughed when I said that. And then I was sitting there with my legs crossed, right? Like up by the table. And he reached over and he just patted me on my leg like that. And he was just laughing. He never said yes. He never said no. And my take on that is if I wasn't accurate, he would have argued with me because that's who he was. Like he was very in your face and I would have argued back.
But we've seen like accounts for like Diddy talking about his shooting, right? Where he says that like Tupac came up the elevator and he shot and he's asking my man to roll him a blunt and everything like that. And there's and for example, like everything we've seen, like in the movies, he's like touching the back of his head, he's bleeding, and he's like, "Oh, you motherfucker shot me in the back of my head," and like all this stuff.
Pistol whipped.
That wound you're saying is from the pistol whip.
I believe that it was. Also, if you go into, I can't speak on Quad today because I haven't been there since the 90s, but at that point in time, it was all marble. And if you shot a bullet in that foyer, in the area where he claims to have gotten shot, it would have ricocheted all over the place because it was just.
Is it possible he got hit with the ricochets then?
It could be. Okay. It could be. Yes, it's possible. But there was no bullet lodged anywhere in his body.
Gotcha. Okay. So over time, you guys build a friendship, right? What was it that really stood out to you where you were like, man, I actually like this guy? Is because he was talking about the substance and like the
yes.
Okay.
First of all, he would speak his mind. So he could be in a room where everybody thought that the sky was blue. And if he thought it was green, he was going to argue it. Like no matter what. Most people aren't like that. If somebody is the only person that thinks different from everybody else, they usually shut the fuck up. They're usually afraid, like, oh my God, I don't agree with anybody. And they don't say anything. That wasn't him. He would always speak up, especially if it was about something he really felt strongly about or believed in. He would really argue with you until you just gave up. And I really admired that. He had an amazing sense of humor. He was a funny motherfucker. So he kept me laughing. I loved how he really loved life. Like he was different after prison. He wasn't that loud, raucous, conceited douchebag that I saw. And maybe because I knew him better. Maybe that, maybe
you
that.
Met him in person? You met him in person? You met him in person by this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Many times. He was just different. To me, he was different. He was very intelligent. he understood the value of ownership of masters. He understood the value and ownership of publishing. He had done a deal where he wasn't really making money and he wanted to. He signed to Suge because he needed the protection, or he thought that he did. I did not agree. I did not agree with him signing to Death Row.
Do you remember when he told you he was signing to Death Row, or you
Yes.
found out? You found out like we all did.
No, he told me ahead of time because I was writing back and forth with him while he was at Dannemora, telling him what to ask for in the contract. Because remember, I had negotiated deals at this point in time. I just couldn't negotiate his deal because I didn't think he should sign to Death Row. But I understood why he was doing it. Even though I don't agree with it, I understood why. He felt like Suge was the only person that could control or outrank New York label heads coming together to silence him. And he felt like they were. He felt like there was a cabal of Russell, Andre, Puffy, and Jimmy Henchman coming together to like annihilate him, like remove him from the music industry.
He needed another superpower, basically, he felt.
Yes, he needed security. He needed somebody powerful, and Suge was it. Suge was absolutely it.
Do you know the particulars about his record deal? Because he was signed to Interscope at the time, right?
Yes.
Before he went with Suge, and obviously
Correct.
Death Row was distributed by Interscope. So how did that situation work out? Because a lot of times people say, oh, Suge really didn't post a $1 million bail. It was Jimmy Iovine and them, but they didn't want to receive credit because it was too bad, the perception of them bailing out someone that is accused of and all this stuff.
That could be true. I'm gonna save the answer to this question for my book. I'm gonna talk about this, and I'm gonna talk about Cash Money in the book that I'm writing. So I don't want to talk about it here, but I will say that he got the most fair deal possible from Suge based on the fact that he wanted to sign to Death Row Records, and that was his only choice. In his mind, that was his only choice. So he did the best that he could. It was a handwritten agreement between Suge and David Kenner. They flew to Dannemora, but I gave him notes, like I gave him things that he should ask for to see if he could get them or not.
Can you talk about the last conversation you had with Tupac before he passed?
I don't remember what the last conversation I had with him, because at that point we were talking regularly. I was writing the business plan, and he had delivered his last project to Death Row at that point in time. So
in the past, you said that it was him on the phone, and he was very unhappy with Death Row and he wanted to leave. Basically, that it was a very passionate call.
Yeah, but that wasn't just one call. That wasn't like the last call.
Oh, got you. Okay.
He had stopped wearing the Death Row chain months earlier and started wearing a pendant that had an angel with rubies in it.
That's not the one in Vegas that he died with, right? Is that the one?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
It's
the big circular pendant.
It's
one.
circular. Yeah, that's it. So he had stopped wearing the Death Row logo like 2, maybe 3 months prior. And that's when I noticed it. He didn't tell me he was unhappy. I noticed the chain was gone. And I asked him if it got snatched, because if it did, we could find somebody to go get it back for him. And he's like, no, it's at home. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, I'm about to deliver the last album. I want to start my own company, and it's euthanasia, and I want you involved, and here's what we're going to do. And I want to set up community centers in every major hood around the country. And I want to do this and I want to do that. I want to have daycare inside of the office where we're based. I mean, he had some really foresightful stuff coming. His plan was, he felt like he divided hip hop like East and West Coast, and he wanted to bring everybody back together. And the album was going to be called One Nation. And he had already recorded some songs. I think he recorded with BDI from Black Moon. I
Right.
think they did a song together.
Boot Camp
Uh,
Click. He had like a bunch of
I can't
people.
quite remember. It's somewhat. This is so
Greg
long.
Nice. He had like a
Yes,
whole bunch of
he had
people
already.
involved.
Yes, he had already started recording, and I was putting the plan together and shopping his deal, and I was actively talking to labels. So much so that Panda, when he was killed, I wondered if he was killed because of the conversations I was having. Like I was worried about that.
So I mean, he was really unhappy with Death Row because of the things that everyone assumed, like he wasn't getting paid as much as he thought he was going to, or like things along those lines.
Yes.
And the drama surrounding the label, like he didn't want to be around that anymore.
Yeah, it was intense. Like him being part of Death Row, it was getting out of hand. It was getting harder and harder for him to accept. And he loved Suge. I don't want to imply that he had any ill feelings towards Suge at all, but his contract, he felt his contract was up because he was about to deliver the third album. It doesn't work that way. You can't just, when you have a 3-album deal, you can't just give somebody 3 albums and say, okay, bye, call me when it's done. It doesn't work that way. There's timelines in that. And he knew that because I educated him about that. Like the way the contract's written, he has to deliver, and then they have 9 months in order to work his project. And he's got to be part of it for that period of time. So there's an actual time deadline before he can leave, as well as a delivery deadline, which was 3 albums in his case.
So there's a lot of speculation and conflicting information over the years, right? Like you have his group, the Outlaws. They said Tupac was not going to leave Death Row. Machiavelli Records or whatever he was going to name the label was going to be distributed by Death Row. Like, and then like
It's
Tupac,
possible.
I'm sorry. Then
It's
Tupac was going to be focused on Death Row East. Like there was a lot of talk.
Yeah, he would have never been focused on Death Row East because he didn't want anything to do with the East Coast at that point. So I've actually never heard somebody say that. I know Eric B was in charge of Death Row East, but I never heard that Tupac was going to be. But yeah, there was speculation that Suge would distribute Euthanasia. Yeah, I'm not going to say that wouldn't have happened.
But he just didn't want that to be like his home base and surrounded, like controlling everything anymore, basically.
I can't say that, but I can tell you that when you have the ability to go to a major label directly, there's no upside to going through a middleman at that same label. Like he could have gone to Interscope directly. He didn't have to go through Death Row. And Suge made a lot of money with Tupac. Like they both made money together. I can't imagine Suge would have kept him and not wanted him to go off and make money on his own.
You know, you've seen the All Eyes on Me biopic, right?
I don't remember if I did or not. I don't watch a lot of Tupac stuff.
Okay.
Because a lot of it's just not accurate.
It's not factual.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a scene there of him and Suge, and Tupac is saying, okay, I delivered my 3 albums, you know what I mean? I'm ready to go. And then Suge brings out this ledger and says, yeah, you put in your time and stuff, like you met that commitment, but what are we going to do about all this money that you haven't recouped yet? Do you believe that was real?
It may have been. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I do know that very few artists ever recoup. And I'll say this, if there was another deal in the works and Suge needed money from Tupac, I'm sure Tupac would have given him money. I'm sure he would have, because he saw Suge as the person that saved his life when he needed it the most. Nobody else stepped up to help him.
So there was no beef between him and Suge. He really did look at him as a big brother and everything.
Yeah, not that I know of. He was not happy. I don't want to imply that everything was, roses, but what artist is happy with their label? I don't know any.
Right. So you're actively shopping the deal for him and everything, and then the situation happens with him getting shot in Vegas. What is your immediate reaction when you see that he was shot?
I didn't think he would die because I thought he was indestructible. In fact, I overnighted a funny get well card to him to the hospital. I never flew out there because I thought he was going to live. I thought he was fine. I didn't think he was fine. I knew he got shot, but he had been shot before. He got shot, other times. He survived a lot. And when he died, it was just very hard for me to believe. And by the way, he is dead. I'm not a conspiracy theorist that thinks, oh, Machiavelli, he's living in Cuba. If he was, he would have called me by now and we would have laughed like idiots. Like, man, you got over. Good for you.
Right. So he's in the ICU for like nearly 6 days and dies like on the 7th, basically. And what is your reaction when they finally announce that he's dead?
Devastation, sadness, because it didn't cross my mind that he would die. I just didn't expect it.
That's when you got drunker than you ever have in your life, basically, right?
Dead in Miami. Yeah, I was in Miami at How Can I Be Down? It was maybe 2 weeks after he died, 3 weeks after. And I was going to get a tattoo. I was going to get his face. I had designed it myself. That's that art school thing. I had designed it myself, and I was considering on whether to get it on the back of my leg. And I to this day, I don't have any tattoos, or on my back. And I went into the tattoo parlor. I didn't know that you weren't supposed to get drunk. I thought that would help with the pain. And I wasn't somebody who drank a lot, so I didn't really know what I was doing with the alcohol thing, right? And I drank way too much. And the guy in front of me that was getting a tattoo while I was waiting was like screaming in pain. And he probably wasn't. I was drunk, and my perception was, oh my God, he's screaming in pain. And I left out of the tattoo parlor and was staggering down the street. And Mario Henchman actually saw me, Jimmy Henchman's older brother. And he took me back to my hotel room and he made sure I was fine.
Wow.
And thank God for him, because I don't remember much after that.
That's crazy.
And woke up with a wicked hangover. It was Tanqueray that I was drinking, gin.
It's kind of funny that you were drinking that, because Tupac talks about that a lot in his music, drinking on the Tanqueray.
Yeah, Tanqueray was very popular back then.
Right.
Gin and juice. Tanqueray was very popular back then. They double filter it, so it's a little bit smoother of an alcohol. I've never been much of a drinker. I don't think I've been that drunk since that night, to be honest with you. I'm not much of a drinker, so for me to drink that much was insanity, especially staggering around fucking Miami Beach.
By yourself?
By myself.
That's insane. Wow.
Yeah, and Mario saw me. Mario drove by and saw me and said, okay, something's not right with her. And he pulled over and he came and got me, and I wouldn't get in the car with him. So he actually walked me back. I was staying at the Raleigh Hotel, which was on 17th Street. He walked me to the hotel. He took me upstairs to my room. He made sure I got in bed and that I was fine. And he stayed there with me for a while just to make sure that I was okay.
So you thought that at that time that Death Row did have him killed? For a split second or for a short amount of time? Yeah, for a while I did.
Yeah.
What exactly led you to think that?
I was, because I didn't know what the truth was. And I was worried that Suge found out that I was shopping a deal for him and that it pissed him off. That was my primary concern, was that I had done something wrong. I didn't, but I was worried that I did.
So Tupac being this icon, larger than life, super famous and successful, right? They say that he died broke. He didn't really have money like that. I think they said that he had like 30,000 in the bank or something.
I don't know. I can't speak on that. I didn't really, I didn't care about money back then. He never shared with me what his financial situation was. and I knew that he would be getting an advance from the new deal. So I wasn't really all up in his business like that.
So you don't know if like they said that like his house and his cars was in Death Row's name?
I don't know.
You don't
I
know?
can't
Okay.
speak. Yeah, I really don't know.
What about Suge being his manager? Wasn't that an actual thing though?
That I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if Suge or what was his wife's name? Was it Sharonda? It wouldn't surprise me if somebody at the label was his manager as well as the label, because that was just a very popular thing to do in the 90s. It was double dipping, and
Right.
it
So
wasn't the
it's not
right thing.
okay. It's not legal, right?
It's legal. It's just not ethical.
Oh, okay.
It's
Got
not
you.
illegal to have your label be your manager. It's just not good business.
Right. It's a conflict
It's
of
a
interest.
conflict of interest.
Right.
And I got to tell you, the music industry is full of conflicts of interest. Like if you look at Cash Money, they were the label and they managed their artists. And that was in the late 90s,
Wow.
early 2000s, mid 2000s.
Do you know if Tupac felt a way towards his previous managers like Atron Gregory and Lila Steinberg or anything like that? No.
Can't speak on that.
But you know that Matulu Shakur, his stepfather, was his business partner, and things didn't work out.
His business manager. He wasn't a partner. He was a businessman.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
And
that controlled his finances. I don't know if Matulu still controlled his finances when he came home from prison, but I know that he did before he went to prison. When he went to prison, he was broke. That I know.
Okay.
That he did share with me, but I don't know what was going on when he was at death row.
You know, Tupac went through a lot of turmoil in his life, and some of it was self-inflicted, like you've said too, right? When you reflect on things, what do you think was his biggest issue? Because when I was younger, I couldn't really put it together with like the correct lens, right? Like as I grew older, I realized like with my background in psychology, he suffered from a lot of unhealed trauma and he kind of lashed out on the world. And probably some of it was PTSD, you know, from
Definitely.
the situations that he's been in. But did you guys ever have any deep conversations about things like
No.
that?
Oh God, no. Remember back then I had happy, sad, and angry. I wasn't emotionally intelligent at all. You know, my style with everybody, whether friendship, romantically, whatever, and I was never romantic with Pac, but I was avoidant, completely avoidant, you know, and he was as well. So he seemed absolutely normal to me. You know, it wasn't until I went to therapy and realized, oh shit, I'm a mix of avoidant and anxious. You know, I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough back then to psychoanalyze myself, let alone him.
Right. People felt like he was playing that role from Juice.
I don't see that. I don't believe that he was. I saw a different
And
side of him though. You know what I mean? Like I saw the
right.
business side. I didn't see the party boy. I didn't see the, like, you know how everybody says he stayed in the studio and just kept recording and recording. I knew he was recording a lot, but I never saw that side of him because when I was talking to him, he wasn't in the studio. I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm not
Right.
debating that. I'm just saying I saw the side of him that he showed me, that he wanted me to see. And everybody got to see the side of everybody they want to show them, right?
Right. Did you have a relationship with his mom at all?
None, not at all.
No. Okay.
None. I didn't want one.
Is there a reason for that?
No reason
No.
to.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
I
because I
was
didn't
not.
know if you helped her with the lawsuit against Suge, and you
No,
know after he had
no,
passed.
no, nope. He wanted to create a scholarship. One of the things that he wanted to do with euthanasia was create a scholarship for young people that wanted to study the arts, whether it was acting or music. So when he passed away, I wanted to set up a scholarship fund, and she sent me a cease and desist letter. And
Really?
yes, and I showed, her attorney was Richard Fishbein at the time. And I sent a letter back to Richard Fishbein, a copy where Pac had put it in writing to me that that's what he wanted to do. And they sent me back another letter that said, if you continue on this path, we will sue you into next year. So I backed off, and I never had anything to do with her after that. There was just no reason to. I'm not going to fight the mother over her dead son.
Right. But that's just so disappointing, though. That's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. Yeah.
It was in his own words that he wanted it, and she never did it.
Wow.
She set up a community center that was unsuccessful instead.
Right. That was in Georgia too, right? Yeah. All right. So 1996, you helped set up Master P and No Limit Records with a deal with Priority Records, right?
Yeah, I didn't help set up their company, but I was part of the negotiating team. Yeah.
Right. So how does this come about?
I pulled a group called the Chameleons off of 4th and Broadway, and their manager, whose name I don't remember, had a relationship or was kin to a guy named Tobin Costin. And Tobin reached out to me and said, hey, we're in the middle of negotiating a deal, and EA Ski and his manager are involved. I can't remember Ski's manager's name. It might have been John. But we're nervous because he signed to the label, and we don't know if he's helping us with the deal to benefit himself at Priority, or if the deal is beneficial to P at Priority. So they were basically asking me to come in and give my opinion, which I did. And I thought they were doing fine. I don't think they were doing anything nefarious at all. I think they did a really good job. But I was able to give my opinion on what I would do if I were involved in sitting down with Brian Turner at Priority, which I was not. Wait, I was like passenger seat for that deal.
Did Master P have a pep talk with you before, you guys went in, and he said, Wendy, I need you to go in there and make him say,
no.
Oh.
No, that's funny. That's very funny. No.
But he made sure that you were compensated, right, after the deal?
No, I wasn't supposed to get paid for that deal.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that deal for money. No.
So, but the deal is,
they were very, his team was very helpful to me. I was working with Do or Die at the time. Mm-hmm. And we helped No Limit in Chicago, and the No Limit Soldiers helped Do or Die in the Bay Area. But yeah, I wasn't supposed to get paid on that deal.
So the deal, basically, No Limit is like owning all the masters. The splits is like, what, 85-15 after cost? And they had creative control, right?
Absolutely. Because
so
it was
Priority was like the distributor, basically.
Correct.
So the amazing thing about this is now you see the industry has changed so much that a lot of labels have cut back a lot of employees, and they're becoming distributors for artists.
Correct.
Because you're not really seeing any more artists in development. You're just like seeing find people that are pretty developed. They got a following now, and that's who people want to put the money in.
It's always been that way. It's just they didn't show it. Like, I was surprised at the value of his deal only because I felt like Brian Turner didn't see the value in rap or Master P. They gave him a deal that appeared to me that they weren't thinking rap was going to be around as long as it's been. That it was sort of a fad, if you will. And nobody said that to me. I'm not saying they thought that. I'm saying that was my perception of how they felt. Like, okay, we're just going to do this deal because we don't think it's really going to go anywhere. And we don't need to make a large share, like 15% or 20% will be fine. And we'll be happy with that. I actually thought it was an 80-20 split, but it's been a long time, so I might be wrong. But having said that, I know that it was an amazing deal. And once I saw that deal go through, it became my precedent. So any deal that I was doing always had leverage, because he had leverage. He had sold 300,000 or more CDs.
Out the
So every
trunk.
deal that I did after that always had leverage. We always made sure we sold CDs. I learned so much from Master P, more C Murder than P, and Tobin Costin more than P. I never really dealt directly with P.
Mm.
I learned more from King George. I learned a lot from him, who was one of the artists that they were working with at the time. I learned a lot from the people around him. He wasn't somebody that I think I spoke to him once.
Wow. So were you still in contact with them when C Murder, went to prison?
No, but I had managed C Murder's career prior to him going to prison. I wasn't managing him when he went to prison or when the shooting occurred, but I managed him right before that, like a year before that, I think it was.
What was your reaction when that situation happened?
I was really sad because he's actually one of my favorite people in the world.
Wow. That's real. It's really unfortunate too.
It's extremely unfortunate.
Man. Have you kept in touch with him over the years?
Yes and no, not as much as I should,
Mm-hmm.
because I just don't really know what to say to him, and it's been a really long time.
Right.
But I've sent him books, I've sent him letters, I've corresponded with people around him. I'm close to Mac, and Mac has been working with trying to get C Murder out of jail. There's a gentleman from the Midwest that I was in touch with around 2012, 11, 13, somewhere in there, trying to help C, but we couldn't really make it happen. I know Kim Kardashian is involved right now, and I'm really hoping she can get him free.
Isn't that crazy?
I don't think he did it.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the Kim Kardashian part.
Oh
Like,
yeah. But I don't think Corey shot that and killed that guy. I'm not saying he was an angel, but I am saying that I think he's serving time for a crime he didn't commit.
Is there any particular reason why you think that?
Gut feeling.
Gut feeling. Got you. Before we get into the Rap Olympics, let's talk about how you met Eminem, because you provided him with like guidance early on in his career, right?
Yeah, he was rapping outside of the Athenaeum Hotel, and I was speaking on a panel there. And I was there with Rhymefest. We drove over from Chicago, and Rhymefest stayed outside while I went inside to speak on the panel. And when I came out, he told me about Eminem, and he's like, "You got to listen to this guy's CD, this demo. Excuse me, it was a cassette. It wasn't a CD. That's how long ago it was." And I didn't want to listen to it. I wanted to go to Denny's and eat because I was hungry. We drove all the way from Chicago, and we didn't have time to eat, and I was starving. It was late in the day, and he peer pressured me into listening to it, and I listened to it. And then we went back and spent some time with Eminem.
Do you remember the first song that you heard?
I don't.
No. Okay.
Don't. I remember meeting his manager at the time. I think his name was Mark Kempf. He ran a magazine out of Detroit, and I don't remember the name of the magazine, but I met him at the same time. I didn't speak to them together, but I remember, and I don't exactly remember when I met Mark, but I remember meeting Mark. And then after I went back to New York, I kept in touch with Eminem. And then I found out that Paul Rosenberg was his manager. And I don't quite know how or why or where that happened, but Paul was his manager after that, after I met him in Detroit.
Mm. So when you first heard him the first time, what was your immediate reaction?
That he's talented as fuck, but it would be very hard for him to get on because he's white.
So you already knew that fact.
Yes.
And do you think that at that time it was because of like Vanilla Ice and the people previously?
Yeah. And Milli Vanilli had just been stripped of their Grammy for lip syncing. And M's not somebody who lip syncs. It's just the time that he was trying to come into the industry was not conducive to white rappers.
Right. So 97, you coordinated the Rap Olympics in LA, right?
Kind of for him.
I'm sorry, what?
Kind of for him. Like, my goal was to showcase lyricists and him and create a media frenzy around lyrics with him kind of at the center of it. Because at that point in time, he was doing scribble battles and winning. Like, everything he touched, he was winning. You know, he got coverage in Source magazine, but it wasn't enough to get him a deal. And I was actively shopping a deal for him.
Wow. So at this time, he already had the Slim Shady EP.
It was called Infinite.
Infinite. So he had the Infinite
I
first.
don't remember when Infinite came out. I don't remember when Infinite came out.
Right.
I thought it was in 98, but I might be wrong.
No, it was way before. I think it was before then.
Yeah, you would need to ask somebody in his camp because I really don't remember.
But were the winners decided by judges or crowd reaction?
Crowd reaction.
Crowd reaction. Okay. And what was the prize?
Fake Rolexes were the prize.
Fake Rolexes?
Yes.
How did you decide on fake Rolexes?
Because the people that were sponsoring Rap Olympics never put up their money. The sponsors never came through. And back then, it was very easy to find bootleg Rolexes that looked real, but we never said they were real. Like, we always said that the prize was bootleg Rolexes. And then the second prize was whatever team came in second would go on the Wake Up show with Sway and Tech.
Oh, wow.
And my team came in second, so they got to go on the Wake Up show.
So,
and it might have been $500. I think
that's what I heard. It was $500.
Yeah.
Right.
And buy fake Rolexes.
Oh, and I just looked it up. Infinite was released in November of 96.
96, thank you.
Yeah. So yeah. I believe at that time, before he got his deal with Dre, though, he did have the Slim Shady EP, though.
I can't speak on that because I hadn't heard that. That's news to me.
Now, was this a
Infinite became Slim Shady that Interscope put out? But go ahead.
Was this a multi-day event?
No,
just
it was one day.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So you had the one-on-one battles, right? And then you had the 5 against 5?
Correct. The one-on-one battles were for Rap Sheet because it was during a Rap Sheet convention. It was during their convention, and they had me set up their battle, and in exchange, they let me use the space afterwards for Rap Olympics. That's how I was paid to set up their battle.
So, you know, online, a lot of people talk and people have written books and all these things, right? So they say Eminem struggled to get to the final round against Otherwise. Do you remember it that way?
No, I was busy like backstage, like making sure everything was running smoothly.
Okay. And so he goes to the final round and he goes against Otherwise, right? Mm-hmm. And he loses.
Yes.
Did you watch that battle?
Yes.
Okay. And do you think that was fair that he lost that one?
No. I think Otherwise was incredibly talented, but we were in LA. It was an LA crowd, and he's an LA rapper battling a Detroit rapper.
Right. Because Otherwise did admit that he said that it wasn't a landslide win. They were really like, yeah, it was very close.
It was very close. We had to ask twice. The crowd had to react. We had to say, okay, this is close. Everybody vote again.
So and it was just one round, or was it multiple rounds?
It was multiple rounds.
Oh, okay. Because
but the final round, we had to ask the crowd twice.
Got you. Because I know that for Dream, Nefra, and Imperador, that Eminem went against, they said that they couldn't decide, so they had to do another round on each of those. I
can't remember that. Yeah, I don't remember that. I was really kind of busy. I wasn't just there to like be a fan.
Right.
It was my event.
So they said that Eminem was very upset about the loss, and he felt like he should have won, right? And I guess in the past, Eminem has said that he was robbed. He felt like, you know, that he should have won in that situation.
I'm sorry he felt that way. Yeah. I don't remember that. I remember Juice being there, and I remember Juice had won the Rap battle the year before, and he was there to battle Eminem, and that was never the plan for the last year winner to battle the current year winner. And I remember him following me around the stage, like pushing for that. And I'm like, dude, that's not going to happen. I remember spending a lot of time arguing that with Juice.
Oh, wait a minute. But he had just beat Eminem in Scribble Jam, though, right? Yeah. And he wanted to battle him again?
Just had it. Yeah. He always wanted to battle M.
Wow.
Yeah. He always wanted to battle M.
So then why was it that it wasn't going to happen?
Because it wasn't part of the plan. It was never part of the plan.
Got you. Okay. So then there was the other challenge of the 5 versus 5, right? Mm-hmm. Your rap coalition team.
That was Rap Olympics. Yep.
Right. Which consisted of M, Juice, K West, the Mad Lad, Thurston Howe the Third, and Wordsworth, right?
Yes.
And then the Project Blow team.
Yes.
So there's a book written by Riddlor, and they say in the book that Eminem didn't want to rap in this portion because he was so upset that he had lost. So he just sat there.
In what portion?
The 5 versus 5.
No, that's not true.
Really?
He didn't rap in the rap sheet battle. He rapped in the Rap Olympics portion afterwards. And there's footage of him rapping.
Right.
Like it's on YouTube. Anybody could see it. That's not accurate.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding what they're saying, but that's what they're saying. A lot of people were saying that he didn't battle, that he didn't rap in that portion. I don't know.
Then how did he lose if he didn't rap?
No, he rapped in the Rap Olympics part, the one-on-one. But then they said that afterwards he was because remember there's some controversy about how your team. They said that your team ended up throwing in the towel or something like that and didn't battle.
That's not true. The crowd voted for Project Blowed. Like they won fair and square. Wow. And they were good. Like right. They were really good. They deserved to win. Like they won because the crowd was with them. It was very close at the end, but the crowd was with them.
Because this whole book that he wrote is saying that, and he's gotten like takes from all the people that were there, is saying that Eminem didn't want to rap. Oh no, that your team ended up throwing in the towel. It was supposed to be another round, and they threw in the towel because they didn't want to rap anymore. They were getting crushed.
I don't remember that.
Wow.
Is there anybody that from my team that spoke in the book that said that? I know I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't.
I know
I don't know. Actually,
I don't remember that at all. I remember the crowd. Because if my team threw in the towel, how did they come in second place? They wouldn't have gotten a prize if they threw in the towel. There'd be no prize. I don't know. I can't speak on that.
Let me see. Yeah, you got Riddlor speaking on it, Rifleman, otherwise
amazing.
J Smooth, Bad Roo, Hines, Butchinen. Yeah, I guess nobody from your team spoke. But maybe that's a little
I don't know. I can't speak on that. Yeah. It's not my memory of how it went down.
Yeah, okay. So they say the event was shot multi-camera by a professional crew, but the footage was never released. Just 4 minutes of Eminem's highlights is released on YouTube. And there's a conspiracy that the entire footage is suppressed and sold to Dr. Dre or Eminem. They say, why else hasn't the footage been featured in documentaries and making money? What happened, Wendy?
I don't know what happened. The gentleman that I paid $1,500 never delivered the footage.
Well, why did you not pursue legal action to get the footage?
Because I can't find him.
You know what's so funny is that there's the same guy on medium.com that keeps on talking about the Rap Olympics, right? That's like making several articles on it. And he says he spoke to you and you wouldn't reveal the gentleman's name, right?
I don't
But
remember his name.
you what?
I don't remember his name.
Yeah, okay, but he said that you're not a snitch anyway, so you wouldn't even if you did. But
I don't know. He ripped me off. I think I would have. Well, keep going.
he somehow found someone that spoke to the gentleman, and the gentleman has confirmed that he has the footage.
Well, I wish he would sell it to me or give it to me since I paid him for it already.
Or is it possible that Eminem and Dr. Dre got it, paid him? That's the conspiracy.
I never thought about that.
Because
I
a lot of people are like, why is there only 4 minutes of this footage and it's only the highlights of Eminem rapping his verses and not anybody rapping back to him?
I can't speak on that.
But isn't that a good point though? That's kind of like, wow, like that's interesting.
I can't speak on that. I have no information. I can't speak about what I don't know about.
But
I would love to get the footage.
Yeah, because I believe that stuff belongs in documentaries. There should be a documentary alone just on the Rap Olympics.
It was $1,500 that I paid this gentleman, and that was a lot of money back then.
Right.
Like
a lot of money now.
It was 2 months rent for me, and I was devastated when he didn't deliver it.
So do you remember talking to him?
I don't remember his name, but he worked on a reality show. Yeah, he kept telling me, oh, I'm editing it. And then he just stopped taking my calls.
Wow.
And he was in LA and I was in New York. I don't remember his name, but he worked on a reality show.
That's terrible, man.
It was. I was heartbroken.
You know how much that footage would be worth now? That's insane. So were you personally disappointed when M lost the battle?
No, it wasn't M that lost the battle. It was the whole team, and they were disappointed. I don't think I was disappointed because I think Project Blowed did really well.
Right.
I mean, my team did too. I don't remember thinking anything about it other than, wow, what a great evening that was. Mm-hmm. And why is Juice bothering me so much about wanting to battle Eminem one-on-one? Like that was never part of the plan.
Do you think that it was like his way of trying to prove that it wasn't a fluke the first time that he won?
Possibly. You would have to ask him that though. I can't speak on his mindset, but that makes sense.
Right. And did you have anything to do with Eminem's deal after the fact with Dre or anything?
Yes.
So how did that come about?
Dre wanted to sign him and kept him in LA for an extra couple of days, put him in a hotel room and had him record to some of his beats.
This was right after the Rap Olympics?
And then he wanted to sign him. And Paul was working. I met Paul originally. He was an intern at the law firm that I was using at my lawyer's law firm. That's where I first met him. And then he had just gone out on his own. He had his own desk at Theo Settlemeyer's office, and he was like his own attorney. He wasn't working for Theo. He was renting a desk from Theo. And they were passing the contracts back and forth to me to give my opinion.
And do you believe that M got a pretty fair deal?
Very.
Very fair?
Uh-huh.
Wow. And did you get a percentage off of that as brokering the deal?
I wasn't supposed to. No.
Dang, Wendy, how are you making it this time? Like, how are you?
I was struggling back then. But people shouldn't pay me when they're not supposed to. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't part of the agreement.
See, this is exactly why nobody can ever call you a culture vulture, ever, because of what you've contributed to hip hop. I've seen people in the comments, they've written this white lady has contributed more to hip hop than so many people. And it's so true. It's so true. It's crazy.
I love hip hop. Yeah. I never did the deals to make money or for accolades, or I did it because I love the culture and I want to push hip hop further. And that's always been my driving factor.
Have you spoken to M over the years?
In 2005, we spoke about Trick Trick. He asked me to help Trick Trick get a deal, and I did.
Oh
I
wow.
did Trick Trick's deal at Motown, but I haven't spoken to him since.
How do you feel watching meeting that first time you met Eminem compared to seeing who he became? Like, what is that like?
Panda, that's happened a lot to me. There's a lot of artists that I've worked with who've become stars. So it's not weird, like it's not rare. I'm super excited because that's what he wanted. He wanted to share his gift with the world and he got to. And he did it staying true to the culture of hip hop, which is really amazing, right?
You got to give it to M. I know a lot of people give him shit, but he's one of the few white rappers that never went into another genre of music, that stayed just doing hip hop. Because, you know, a lot of people have gone into country, rock, you know, punk rock, whatever, like all these different
Yeah.
things, but he stayed with just hip hop. Now
Well, he was always part of the culture. Like he comes from the culture of hip hop and he respected the culture of hip hop. When I met him, his favorite rapper was Young Z.
wow.
I don't know why my camera's moving. It's like giving me dramatic effect. I said Young
Right.
Z.
I didn't know if that was something that
It
you
wasn't
did.
it, but I noticed. But I
It's the
noticed
Insta 360, right?
it is.
Yeah.
It is. I must have the setting on the follow me. Yeah, I
Right.
do. Setting on follow me. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But his favorite rapper was Young Z. That's culture.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So 98, you helped broker Cash Money's famous $30 million deal with Universal Music Group, right?
Yes. Yep.
80-20 split.
That was my attorney and I. That was a fun one to do because it was just the two of us. There was nobody else involved. So we had a lot of control over being able to say no. The secret of the success to that deal, and I'm writing a book about it, so I can't talk too much about it. But the secret of the success of that deal is they let me say no for 9 months to people that were trying to sign them.
Right. And
First offer was for Juvenile for $75,000. And then 9 months later, it became a $30 million deal. And thank God they didn't say, yeah, we want to take that 70. It was Penalty Records. Yeah, thank God we want to take that 75,000. Like, go do that deal, Wendy. Because they could have, right?
Right. But when you think about the terms of the deal, it's pretty amazing with the 80-20 split, 3 million advance to the artist, right? 1.5 million upfront cash. Like, it's pretty crazy.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But they earned that. They had put out 31 projects over 6 years. Like, they proved that they could run a label. They proved that they had great taste in music. I found them because I was at Peach's record store in New Orleans. I was down there for a music conference and I went into Peach's and I found an artist called Pimp Daddy. And when I flipped over the CD, the packaging was the Cash Money logo. And I went looking for them. I couldn't find them, but I went looking for them. That was in May of 97. And then in August of 97, a street team guy in Houston called me and said, hey, Baby and Slim are looking for you. They want to talk to you. Will you have a conversation with them? I'm like, yes, please. I was in New Orleans looking for them in May. And he's like, yeah, that's what they said.
So I know you're writing your book. So I'm assuming you can't touch on the Freddie Fox situation, that you're saving that for the book.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So if you guys want to know about that part with Birdman, it's going to be in her book. Okay. It's pretty amazing. I did my research. That's pretty
Thank
interesting.
you. It was a wild ride.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Can we talk about at least the history of Cash Money not paying people?
Yeah, if you're asking me, did I get paid for that deal? I did not. They were supposed to pay me. It was the first time somebody was supposed to pay me. We had a contract. I sued them. They paid me.
But it wasn't what you were supposed to get, right?
Oh,
Like,
it was very much what I was supposed to get.
oh, it
Yeah.
was. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
But when you see the controversies that have come in the years that have passed, where people have said Cash Money doesn't pay,
I've heard that.
even Lil Wayne himself has
I've
had
heard that.
issues. A lot of artists that have been key members of Cash Money have said it. Producers, like, what is your reaction when you see this?
My experience was that I did work for them and didn't get paid, and I had to sue them to get paid. And they finally paid me when they had to. That's my experience with Cash Money. So I assume other people are having that same experience.
But isn't it disappointing when you see like Lil Wayne himself like that's the flagship artist, right? That's supposed to be like
Yeah.
your son, like that you say. So it's just like wow, like even him, you know?
I wonder what Baby went through in his life that got him to that point.
Right.
Because even just like business tells us, if you're making all this money by selling this cup, you're going to take really good care of this cup because that's your money, right? And I would assume that it's even more so when it's a human being.
Right.
And I think, I can't remember, but I think back then Wayne was saying that he just wanted $1 million. And didn't he sue for 30 million or 60 million? Like he sued for some ridiculous
because
amount.
he was supposed to get, I think he was supposed to get 5 million for like the advance for that album. I think it was Carter 5 at the time.
I didn't pay much attention to Cash Money after and it's not because of them. Like I'm so busy that I'm focused on whatever's in front of me. I don't focus on like everything else. So I'm not being disrespectful by saying that. But once I'm done with a client, I'm on to the next project. So I'm not paying attention. But I thought he was saying publicly that he just wanted $1 million or 1.5. And I remember thinking, like, that's an easy fix. Like, that's an easy check to cut when you're making, 20 million, 30 million, $40 million a year, and somebody wants just one. Like, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Right.
But that may have been hype. That may have been bullshit. I don't know, because I think he sued them for something like 60 million or 30 million.
It was pretty big. Yeah.
Oh.
And then like Jay-Z got involved and he got a cease and desist and stuff because
that's funny. I didn't know that.
He was trying to get him to come over to Rock Nation instead. And Baby sent him a cease and desist. And
when did hip hop become the WWE?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Oh, that's crazy.
So yeah, I want to touch on that. So hip hop is a Black art form. What has it been like for you in hip hop, not just as a white person, but as a white woman? Do you often get the culture vulture label, or is that something that happened with social media?
I don't know. I know that it happens, but I don't pay attention to it. Like I'm so, and I don't know if this is good or bad. Like I'm really just focused on what I'm working on. So I don't really pay attention to what other people say or what they think. And again, I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it's good. I should.
I think it's good.
But I'm not in it to please other people, and I'm not in it for people to say, oh, she's good instead of, oh, she's bad. So I don't really pay attention to what people say that don't directly impact my life. Like I care what my friends say. I care what my family says. I care what my inner circle says. I care what my staff says. I care what my clients say. But that's about it. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care if other people like me or not. They don't really affect my life.
You know the rapper Necro, right?
Yes.
Okay. You guys had conversations in the past or no?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. He was an artist that I used to mentor. Like he would call me for advice and I would give him my opinion on stuff. I think that was around, I don't remember. 2000 maybe.
Mm-hmm. He's been doing it independently for a very long time.
Is he still?
Yes, he is. Yeah,
I'm so
yeah,
glad.
yeah. I've done a few
I'm
interviews
so
with him,
glad.
and he has a very big fan base. That's like that cult following kind of thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
He's
Um,
a really great human being. I remember he has sent me books because the way to my heart, right, is food and books. He sent me some really great history books or referred history books to me. It was around 2001, 2002, somewhere in that time period, 2000, between 2000 and 2002. Because I remember him sending me a book on Jewish history, the history of Jewish people in the US. And it was fascinating. And I still have it somewhere. I don't know where it is, but it was a great, great book. And then I was trying to lose weight at that time, and he had just lost a ton of weight. And I asked him how he did it. And he told me he ate soup for every meal. And I was never able to do that because it's not enough food for me.
right.
But I was amazed by that. Like he lost like 100 pounds just eating soup.
What's amazing is that recently he actually came back on his health kick, and he's lost a lot of weight and gotten healthier too by doing fasting.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so I'm really happy for him too. So shout out to Necro.
How
Um,
is he? I really like him a lot. I'm sorry, I interrupted you though, because you were going to ask me questions about Necro, and
yeah.
I got excited because I haven't thought about him in 12.
No, yeah, but
I've thought about him, but I haven't spoken to him.
Necro's experience in hip hop has been very interesting, right? He's Jewish, he's from the hood though, so there's
Oh,
that
wow.
kind of element there. But he believes that hip hop is racist towards whites and Latinos on a mainstream level. Like you can only have one main rapper of each. Like there's Eminem, there's Big Pun,
Oh, wow.
almost like
Okay.
a gatekeeping effect. He feels like there's so many good white and Latino rappers the industry doesn't let in, but they allow a lot of
I
whack
see it differently.
black rappers in.
I see it differently. And I hate to, I'm not trying to argue with him, but it really comes down to money in this industry. Like if this industry is about color, it's green. I find this industry to be based on socioeconomic patterns more than anything, because anytime an artist has a lot of sales and labels feel like they can pimp the shit out of them, they will. And I don't think they care if they're Latino, black, white, green, alien, Asian. I think they're all about the money.
Mm.
And I think that's what rules decisions. I'm sad that he feels that way, because if he feels that way, there's a reason for it. It means he experienced something that told him he was not enough being white and Jewish, and that's sad.
Part of it might actually be the audience, the hip hop audience. Like, for example, he did an album with Cool G Rap, a full album with Cool G Rap,
Wow.
right? Produced the whole thing, he funded it, everything. But a lot of the Cool G Rap fans, which are the black fans, don't accept the album, or they never heard about it really. And I think that he feels because he's white that
Yeah.
he didn't get accepted in that
Yeah.
way, you know?
I can't speak on that, but it would depend. There'd be a lot of factors in that. It would depend on what year it was, and was it like at the height of G Rap, or
I
was
think
it
it
after
was
the fact? Because we're kind of assholes as rap fans.
right.
Like, and here's what I mean by that. Like in rock, Elton John or the Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin can make money in 2025. They can tour, they can put out albums, and they'll find new fans, or their fans from the 70s will support them. In hip hop, I feel like artists age out. I feel like,
Ageism
yeah,
exists.
I feel like it's a severe problem. So if he did an album with G Rap after,
It's in 2013 they did the album. Yeah.
you just made
So
my point.
so what you're talking about too is like it's interesting because in hip hop, it's compared to other genres, it's still a fairly young genre compared to the other
I
genres, right?
guess, yeah,
So we're seeing a lot of things that we never saw before, like artists, aging and just different things, and we're starting
yeah,
to see rappers still rap in their elder
yes.
age, and people
As
are
a
arguing whether that's acceptable or not, or
exact,
it's
you know,
interesting
as
conversation.
somebody who makes money promoting and marketing rappers, right? That's what the for-profit side of what I do is. That's what Power Moves does. It's extremely hard for me to build a career for a new artist that is older than 27. And I'm even going to take it a step further and tell you it's easier 18 to 21. So 21 to 27 is a struggle, but older than 27 is really fucking hard. And older than 31 is nearly impossible.
Do you think that that's because, they always say that hip hop is like for the youth, it's like a young man's sport?
Yeah, I think what it is, and this is just my opinion, and it's based on research, so it's not like I'm not pulling it out of my ass. The fan base is 13 to 24.
Mm,
That's when people are at their prime in terms of embracing new music, right? So my high school years, I love the music that came out then because that's what anchored to different experiences like the prom or, different events in my life that have been huge when I was young. That's when my musical taste and most people's musical taste is formed. By the time somebody's in their mid 20s, they're usually settling down. They're not going to clubs quite as much. The average, there's still people that go to clubs at 40, right? But most people are having kids. They're settling down. They've got mortgages. They've got car payments. They're not really spending a lot of money on music the way somebody younger is.
or
And
time,
somebody that's
time too, right?
correct,
Yeah, because
correct.
like when you're younger, you don't have
What
the
can you?
responsibilities and everything. You could do whatever you want,
Yep.
and yeah, it's
And we're discovering our taste in music, but it's usually set by the time we're in our mid 20s. We already know what music we like, and for some reason, when somebody is in their 30s and they're going after the market with the main people that are spending money on music, which are 13 to 24, they're not necessarily looking at somebody who's 35 and saying, oh, I can relate to them or I can connect with them. They're sort of looking and going, wow, they look like my dad or they look like my mom. So it's not that Jay-Z can't sell music because he's already successful. It's breaking new artists that's hard.
right.
And I've personally tried to do it many, 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 many times. And it's really a challenge, like to find somebody's market when they're older. And labels know this.
But it's interesting because 50 Cent even had this conversation, and he basically saw that music wise, his fan base was aging. So he was like, they're not going to the clubs as much anymore. They're not, doing those things. But what are they doing? They probably go home, they'll watch a TV show or something like that. And that's why he went into television, which is
Smart.
interesting.
Yeah, that's smart. Because I think his fan base knows him. Even if he put out an album, I think his fans would embrace him, the hardcore fans, because I think that they love him from 2003.
Right.
They love him from In the Club. They love him from that era. So I think you can make a living like if you're Busta Rhymes or Fat Joe or Missy Elliott or Nelly, or I think these guys can make Slick Rick. I'm friends with Rick and he makes money. He has a career in touring and he just put out an album, a few months ago. So I think that if you target your niche, you can make money. But what's difficult is trying to get on when you're
Right.
older. I think it's very, very challenging. And I think it's that way in all genres. I don't think that's unique to hip hop. But my complaint about hip hop is why aren't Busta Rhymes fans supporting him dropping new music the way Tool fans would support Tool, or the way Elton John fans would support Elton John, or the way Taylor Swift fans support Taylor Swift? It just seems unfair in a way.
Right. But it's really hard for some of these legendary artists that sold so many records to try to put out a project now, and the way that music isn't selling like it used to, right? And the
Yeah.
streaming and how it equates to sales and everything. It's like, for example, 50 was used to selling Diamond, right? If he puts out a project now, there's no way it's going to come anything close to that, but it's very hard to be less than what you once were, you know?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I guess so. I would see it more like if I were him, I would start a community, and he doesn't need to do this because he's got the TV stuff that he
Right.
does. So can I shift to another example?
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. If I were Redman or Method Man, right? I would set up a community, and I would sell subscriptions to my community, and I would deliver my new music there. And maybe it's $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever. I would go live once a month and, talk to my fans if they wanted to know what it was like being part of Wu-Tang or making movies back in the day, or, why did you get into this? Like, that's the place to build your income with super fans, the people that are willing to pay you to be there every month to be part of your community, your fan base, right? Your super fans. That's what I would do. 50 probably doesn't need to do that. It would probably be not a waste of his time, but the cost of his time. He could put that time into a movie and make a gazillion more dollars.
Right.
Like, it just wouldn't be cost effective for him to do that. But it would be for Busta Rhymes. It would be for Joe. It would be for people that still want to make music and want to deliver it to their biggest fans that will support them. Because nothing's worse than making an album and thinking, okay, this is my heart, this is my soul, let me put it out there, and you only stream, 1 million copies or whatever.
Right.
But if you have a fan base and they're supporting you financially, everything you do is for people that love you.
This is a good transition over to, how do you feel about these rappers now moving into podcasting and content creation?
I love it. I think that's the future. I don't think that I don't see it as them crossing over. I see it as them growing. I see it as the next logical step. I think that if you look at the stats on music versus podcasting, like, podcasting is growing much faster than music is. And it just makes sense to me that somebody that's an entertainer, and especially somebody that entertains with their voice, would not switch, but add podcasting into their
right
franchise that they're delivering to their fans.
There's a lot more money in it too, because of ad space and all those different things, right? Different kind of sponsorship deals you can get.
Yeah.
But one thing that we've noticed, though, with the content creation is that you'll see people come on here and tell stories, and sometimes may stretch the truth for a viral moment. And the only thing that I feel about that is that it's kind of disrespectful to hip hop history in a way when you
or any history. Yeah.
Right. So I get it that everything, like, that's how social media works now, where it's just like everything, you're trying to get that big moment, but at the cost of our culture, it's a little disappointing.
It is disappointing. It is disappointing. And it's also disappointing. We all have our memories, and we all have what we remember and what we don't. The perfect example was when we were talking earlier about my team throwing in the towel. I don't remember that. Right. And I genuinely don't remember that. I think you know me well enough that if they did, I'd be like, yeah, they did.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't remember it like that. And then you're like, well, here's 6 people that do remember it like that. Well, okay, but I don't. So it's not it's not that they're trying to have a viral moment or I'm trying to have a viral moment. It's that we're talking about something that happened 25 or more years ago. And we all have different memories. Like my memory is Juice saying, "Why can't I battle Eminem?"
Right.
I'm sure he doesn't remember that. I'm sure his memory is whatever stood out to him from that moment, you know? And we all have our different memories. And if we could all just get in a room together and each share what our memories are, it would give us a full sense of that moment. It's kind of like, let me take it out of hip hop for a minute, right? My sister and I grew up together. We're 3 years apart. Did she have the same parents I had? Like, my memories are so different from her memories of our childhood, like how we were raised. We have a lot of similarities too. Like, I know we were raised in the same house, but some of the stuff that she tells me, I'm like, really? Daddy was like that? I don't remember that. We have different vantage points, and
Right.
it's just natural that we would remember things differently. But you're right. It's if somebody is going to disrespect hip hop because they remember it differently, why not go and speak to the other people that were there and get their take on it before you disrespect it to see if your memory is accurate?
Well, some
You know what I
people
mean?
are purposely doing it, like lying, because they know that that's going to cause a viral moment. So it's not fact checking
But
necessarily.
what's the benefit of a viral moment? What's the benefit of 15 minutes of fame for somebody that's of no consequence in 2025? Like, if you have to do that to stand out, I guess I just don't understand what the point of going viral is.
Maybe showing that your podcast is popping and getting more sponsors, getting more
Oh,
numbers, you know?
like as a promotional tool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's sad. Then go punch Chris Brown in the face. Like, you'll get way more, you know what I mean? You'll get way more attention. Maybe it's bad attention, but you'll get way more attention.
Right.
A viral moment is a spike. It's a vanity metric. It's a spike in one moment, right? It's a blip on the screen.
So
You're gonna
this is
point.
great too, because you can give us the woman perspective, right? Remember back in the day, it used to be such a big deal when a celebrity had a naked picture or a
Yeah.
leaked sex tape or something, right? But now you got OnlyFans and you have female artists that even participate in more provocative content
Well,
like that. What is it like for you to watch that shift in how female artists interact?
weird. It's weird. It's sort of like what we're talking about before that when we were talking about viral moments. If you think about it, like, Kim Kardashian built her career off of a blowjob that she gave to Ray J, right?
Well, she did a
That
little
was,
more than just that, but yeah, basically.
but you see my point. Like, that was her claim to fame.
Mhm.
That was her viral moment. And she built an
Billion
empire.
dollar business.
Yes, off of that. Well, what about all the women that did that and didn't build an empire? Like, there's a lot of women that were given head back in the 90s to artists, right? Some filmed, some not. It's weird to me that somebody would, unless that's their thing, like, if she has no qualms about doing that, more power to her. I couldn't do it.
But like the over sexualization that female rappers now focus on, right? I mean, we've had it in the past. We had Lil Kim,
We've always had
but it just seems like we don't have the Lauryn Hills as much. We don't have like these other artists that are
I think we do. They just don't get the same attention.
okay. That's it. They don't
You
get
know
the
what I mean?
same
Like,
amount
we
of
do have,
attention, right?
yes, there's my favorite female rappers right now are a group called Girl Code. And that's a little incestuous because I've worked with them.
Mhm.
So it's almost not fair for me to name
Right.
drop them. But they're like a female Mob Deep from the 90s. And I think they're amazing. And they're not overly sexualized at all. So I think that great rap, Lady London, I think great female rappers exist. It's just the ones that are sexualized stand out a little bit more. So we see them and we think that that's what it's all about, but it's not. That's like saying drill rap is running rap right now, or trap rap is running rap. And it's not. It's just one lane that is louder than other lanes. So people think that it's got more attention than everybody else. But the great thing about hip hop today is there's so much choice that we can really go listen to whatever we want. Like if I want to listen to female rappers that aren't sexualized, it's so easy to do. I just have to build a playlist of women that aren't talking about pussy or aren't ratchet.
Right. But back to what you were saying, the ones that are receiving the most attention from media outlets and everything are the ones that are talking about this. It kind of goes back to the news and the brainwashing effect of, these little kids coming up. What are they mainly focused on or listening to?
Right.
The main outlets, who's being put in front of them, right? Not everyone has the foresight or the mental capacity to think, I want to think for myself. I want to figure out what else is out there, and
Agreed.
that's a problem.
Can I take it even a step further? Because I think that you've touched on something that's really key. And the way algorithms work today is we get more of what we look at, right? Maybe not what we want. For example, a couple weeks ago, there was this spate of these AI memes, and I'm sure you saw them. It was like baby versions of adults. So it was like baby, little baby,
right?
Baby Busta Rhymes, baby Mike Tyson. And I was watching them because I thought it was funny. And then all of a sudden, my entire fucking feed were these memes. I couldn't get rid of them. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
And it took like a good 7 or 8 days of me scrolling past them. Like I couldn't look at them because I knew if I stopped on one and looked at it, I was going to have another month of just baby, 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 baby shit. Right. So the algorithm is now ramming stuff down our throat because it thinks that's what we want. But what it's doing is it's shaping discourse. It got a president elected, for Christ's sake. That's power. Like that's way more power than the media ever had. And it's drilling down on what we want more of. I noticed it when I was in New York. I was with my best friend and we were going to the 50th anniversary of hip hop at Yankee Stadium.
Oh, wow.
And we were waiting for the car service to pick us up at the hotel. And he was scrolling on his phone. I was scrolling on my phone. We were just doom scrolling because we were killing time. And I'm in my Explorer page and I kept showing him memes, and my Explorer page is like positive sayings and mental health stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff in there about avoidant versus anxious relationship behavior. There's stuff in there about self-esteem, positive self-esteem. There's stuff in there about unconscious beliefs and how it shapes people's self-destruction, right? It's that kind of shit. And I'm showing him stuff and laughing like, isn't this cool? This is so positive. And then he's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm on my Explorer page. And he goes to his Explorer page and it's all naked bitches. It's fat asses, it's tits, and it's old school cars. And he said, why is yours so different from mine? And I didn't have the heart to tell him, like, dude, this is obviously what you're looking at. So I'm like, how do I say this nicely? I'm like, fuck it. Let me just tell him. I'm like, you're getting more of what you look at. He's like, what? I'm like, you're getting more of what you look at. And he goes, well, I can look at positive stuff too. And then he spent like the whole next couple of days, like only clicking on positive stuff. And then all of a sudden his Explorer page looked like mine. And we're on the way home. This is like 4 or 5 days later. We're on the way home and he's like, look at my Explorer page now. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not real. This is you actively trying to change it. How long is it going to last? And then like 3 months later, we're back here in Atlanta. And I'm like, let me see your Explorer page. He's like, no. And his head went, no.
Oh, man.
And I'm like, okay, I get it. But my point is, it's always been that. The media gives us what we want more of. So if there's something sensational, like a sex tape or like a famous R&B singer peeing on a little girl, and that's what we're all passing around to each other, it's very hard for news outlets to say, oh, we're not going to give you more of what you need. We're going to be responsible and show you what you should be looking at, which is positivity. Algorithms just took it to the nth degree. Algorithms have now replaced media as news. So we get more of what we think. If you think Trump is a great motherfucker, you're going to get more pro-Trump stuff in your feed. If you think he's the biggest asshole on the planet, you're going to get more stuff proving that he's an asshole. So what's happening is we're all thinking we're right because our news and our facts are coming from what we're seeing.
Right.
So I'm going to argue that what I'm seeing is right. You're going to argue what you're seeing is right. And we're not going to hear each other because we think we're right. We think we're all seeing the same thing and each other is stupid. We don't realize that I'm not seeing the information about whatever we're arguing about from your point of view. And we stopped talking to each other. When did that happen?
Yeah. You know, though, but like some of these outlets, I feel like they are getting paid by the record labels to promote.
They are.
You know,
they are.
Yeah. So like, for example, Ice Spice and Lotto, they just released that song last night. And I look on my page and all the outlets post it within minutes of each other. The new song is out, the new video is out and all stuff. And I'm just like, what the hell? Like, you know,
your algorithm must be all hip hop because what's happening is they're buying hip hop media to promote that song, but they wouldn't be promoting it if it didn't already have some momentum. Like in 2025, you can't force a hit record anymore. Believe me, I've tried. You can't. Even the labels don't have enough money. So what they do is they seed it. They put it out to a couple of platforms. They see a reaction and then they put all their chips in and they go all in. So you're seeing a reaction from the reaction. It's not like they're just picking a song randomly and putting money behind it. It doesn't work like that anymore.
Right.
And it hasn't worked like that for a long time, honestly. If people didn't watch the Ray J Kardashian video, there would be no Kardashian reality show. Right. It's because people fueled that. We're still doing that, just in a different way. And by the way, this is just my opinion. I could be totally wrong. It's just how I see the world.
You've been in the industry for over 30 years. Did you ever imagine that both Diddy and Suge Knight would be locked up behind bars?
No. I never saw any of that coming. I never went to puffy parties. I don't go to any parties though. Like, right.
You're an introvert though, right? Because I think I've heard you say that.
I am. I'm so standoffish from this industry that people think I'm an asshole. And it's not that I'm an asshole. It's that I'm an introvert. Like I'm drained. Like I can feel my energy and it's just you and me, right? I felt my energy drained an hour ago. Like I could feel like, and you see I'm sipping on caffeine because I don't want you to see that. Like I don't want your people to see me like, oh, I'm tired, but I'm tired, right? It's even worse for me when I'm in a room full of people. Like I can just feel the energy get sucked out of me. And then I have to go recharge alone at home to get my energy back. Like tomorrow, my energy will be back and I'll be fine. But right now I really feel it. Like I feel the drain. So I just never went to parties. So I never saw that side of Puff. I never saw baby oil Puff. I never saw abusive Puff because I never put myself in those positions to see him. Like,
but did you have any interactions with him though?
I have, just in studio, in office, never in a party. But I don't go to the Grammys. I don't go to any of the Grammy parties. I don't go to parties. I didn't back then. I certainly don't now. Like I've really aged out of that scene. I would look weird at a party. It's like, right. oh, who's the old person? Like, it would just, you know what I mean? It would be like, oh my God, like the home let her out to come to this party. Where's her walker? It would just be weird. But it's always been uncomfortable and weird to me. And I've always been accused by people of being standoffish, but I'm not in the industry to hang out. I'm in the industry to help rappers, and I can't help them at a party. They're not in business mode. They're in party mode.
And did you ever have any interactions with Suge?
Yes. I had more interactions with Suge than I did with Bad Boy, with the folks at Bad Boy.
And what were those interactions like? Positive or?
Very. Yeah. Suge was always super respectful. Yeah, he loved Rap Coalition. He loved what I was doing. He tried to help me early on, and I wouldn't accept the help because he was a record label. Not that they're the enemy, but I can't take money from somebody and then what if I have to turn around and pull an artist off the label like 5 years later? Like
conflict.
Yeah, that would be weird. So I never put myself in position to be in conflict.
Mm-hmm. What was your reaction when you saw the outcome of the trial for Diddy?
I didn't watch it. I didn't watch Young Thug's trial. I didn't watch Puff's trial. I still call him Puff. I'm sorry, I'm old school.
Oh, it's cool.
I was surprised that they didn't find him guilty because I thought that and again, I didn't watch it, but from what I heard, and again, algorithms, they show you more of what you see, right? It looked to me like they had proved their case, but friends of mine that actually watched everything and followed it, like really followed it, said no, they didn't make their case and he shouldn't still be behind bars. But that's not my opinion. That's
right. I followed it pretty closely, and I will say though that everything was so sensationalized that we thought we were going to get all these crazy stories, like it was really going to be so much evidence and everything. It really seemed like the feds dropped the ball. Now
that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Now they did prove like the Mann Act and everything.
The feds don't usually drop the ball.
Right, exactly. They have like a 98% conviction rate, something like that.
Yes, yes.
Right. So, it just seemed like I don't know, we got oversold, like what was going to happen or something,
We got cheated.
Yeah. But
we got cheated out of our guilty verdict. That's funny.
But I mean, they did find him guilty on the Mann Act, so he has a potential of, going in for 10 years or whatever. But
wow. What's the Mann Act?
That's like prostitution across state lines and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, but he got found guilty of 2 of those charges. So I don't know exactly. They said that at one time Trump might consider pardoning him, but then Trump said that he remembers Diddy talking shit about him during the time that he was about to get elected or during his first, his first term. And like, so he's like, I don't think I'm gonna do it, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
They were friends. They were friends at one point.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. But it's, it's sad though when you see stuff like this happen because you think of like, and I guess that's why idolizing is never a good thing, right? Because you never know who these people really are. You can appreciate what they've done in a, entertainment, whatever but you just never really know the person.
It's so hard for me to separate who a person is from their music. I really have difficulty. So I've always kept my distance from artists that are like my favorite artists because I don't ever want to like not want to listen to their music because I met them.
Right. And that's why they say never meet your idols and stuff. You'll be disappointed.
Never meet your idols. I think that's really great advice.
Have you had those experiences where you met somebody and you were like, man,
yes, absolutely. Many, 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 many times. That's why I keep my distance from artists today.
Wow. That must be hard too, because like you obviously work with so many.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
All right, Wendy, last question. Okay. Last question. Because I know that I'm tired. You've given me so much time. But tell us something you have never said in another interview, whether it be
Ooh,
a hip hop story or something you left out about the other stories you've told.
I don't know that exists. And if it exists, I don't. There's
Probably
so much.
saving it for the book.
Well, no, there's just so much that I've lived through that, like, I don't remember it all. There's been so much. Something that I've never told anybody. Gosh. Okay, I have something, but I'm not sure that I don't, it's not very interesting. I remember when Craig Mack put out Flava In Your Ear, it was huge and it went platinum like overnight. And Bad Boy threw a party, like a platinum party, and they forgot to invite Easy Mo B. And somehow I was on the guest list, which is weird because I don't go to parties. And I did, by the way, I didn't go to that party, but I had bumped into Easy Mo B earlier that day. And he told me that he wasn't invited. And I said to him, dude, I'm on the guest list. Come, I'll go if you want to go and come in with me. And he's like, okay. So we met at the club and we were standing out front of the club and we were both like hesitating to walk towards the club. And I looked at him and he goes, I don't really want to go. Want to go have a drink across the street? And we didn't go to the Flava In Your Ear party that he was not invited to together. We went and hung out elsewhere. It's not very interesting, but
Why didn't he want to go?
I don't know. I didn't either.
Probably just because he wasn't invited.
He wasn't invited. Like,
yeah.
He was the producer of that song. Like, if it weren't for him, probably that song wouldn't be.
How the hell do you not get invited?
How do you not invite Easy Mo B? And I called them, like when he shared that with me, I called like my friends inside and they're like, oh shit, we'll invite him right now. Like they were very upset. But he and I had already decided, hey, let's meet here. And I don't remember, like 10 o'clock or whatever time we decided to meet. And I didn't know him that well at that point. Mm-hmm. That's actually when we became friends.
Wow.
And we ended up going elsewhere, not going to the party, which was fine with me because I never went to parties. Like I was just there because my friends put me on the guest list. I knew they probably put me on because they knew I wouldn't show up. Like, oh, let's just, she'll feel like she owes us one because she's on this list for this club for the party. I don't know what they were thinking, but yeah, we ended up.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit. That's pretty interesting, actually. I think the fans are really going to like that. They're going to be like, dang, see, Diddy, why you ain't do that?
Yeah, I don't understand why. I don't understand why he wasn't invited. It was such an oversight that it shocked me.
Right.
Because that song was huge and it was the beat.
Yep.
I mean, Craig Mack added to it too. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying he was whack. It made him a star, right? But it's a production driven industry. Like, thank God for Easy Mo B and Flava In Your Ear.
Right.
Right. And they forgot to invite him.
Wow. All right, Wendy. I just want to thank you so much for your time. It's really been a pleasure. Is there anything else you want to say to the people before we go ahead and wrap it up?
No, I think we're good. This has been 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think we did good.